the FBI, so he canceled his news conference. Perhaps would the FBI have asked him to cancel the news conference for some reason? We don't know.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure.
This is a New York attorney, and the news conference was initially scheduled to take place in a New York area hotel.
I thought it was a little strange that the conference was called for the following day, and then it was canceled subsequently. Based on, again, communication with law enforcement. It just seemed that whole scenario seemed a little bit strange to call a presser. Why call a press conference in the first place?
Right. What were you going to say?
What were you going to announce to the world?
I don't know.
We don't know where Brian is. Please stop calling. It's your job to have your phones ring off the hook when you're an attorney of this magnitude.
And here's the great point here, and nobody right now is capable of this, including us. No inferences should be drawn from the statement. Well, all we have is a 2-sentence statement. And I think the public is drawing a lot of inferences, as we've seen from some of the questions and some of the comments you've gotten and that I've gotten on social media. So
Eagle, again, we're going to have updates here regarding Eagle 8HC. I think we're losing signal here momentarily. We'll try to get you back here to the search here momentarily. Cricket Wrestler, #AJB, this one from Facebook. Why can they not use thermal imaging technology to find him, assuming this isn't a wild goose chase? So let's talk about that. I've been talking about the possibility of what thermal imaging technology and thermal imaging cameras mounted to choppers can do is allow you to continue an aerial search around the clock. When the sun goes down, it's hard enough to find them during the daylight. Can you imagine how hard it is to find them at night? But thermal imaging technology can be of help, of course, because you can continue looking in the overnight hours. I have asked several times if there is any thermal imaging choppers that are currently scanning the area. We have not gotten a word on that. And as we understand it, there have not been choppers flying over the search area in the overnight hours. So the search has been coordinated throughout the day. And as we understand it, again, not that the search for Brian Laundrie ends at night, but the search for Brian Laundrie at Carlton Reserve, as we understand it, ends at night. So we'll, of course, keep you posted if that changes, or if we get any more information that there were crews out there in the overnight hours. We got here from Mitchell Klopp on Twitter. Was there clues of Brian being located in the Carlton Reserve? #AJB, #Walton. We don't know.
The clue is from the family when the police asked about him on, I think it was Friday, and they said, "Oh, he hasn't been here since Tuesday. He went hiking in." I don't know if they used the word favorite, but in the Carlton Reserve. So I think I believe it was a frequent hiking spot for him. So that is the clue. That's what has brought them to the Carlton Reserve. The parents telling police. But again, did he go there on Tuesday? Has he been in that wooded area for a week?
How far can you get?
If you're a survivalist, if you know how to hunt, I don't know. I mean, in a movie, you could be hidden for a week.
If you're Rambo, you can get anywhere at any time and comb through the woods and hide for days and hours and cover yourself in mud. We just don't know.
We know Gabby and Brian were camping in off the grid areas and in secluded places. So maybe he has some skills in that area. We don't know that, though. We have not. The parents haven't talked, to the frustration of police and the FBI. The parents have not talked.
Let's talk about Alana Cameron's comment here. Hello there, Alana. #AJB, #HeyWalt. What happened with him supposedly being in Alabama? I can speak to that because I was talking about this yesterday. I find it very, very strange. I grew up on Long Island. I am in the Tampa Bay area here now working, and I live here and I love this community here. But my previous station was WKRG in Mobile, Alabama. And there was news or possible sightings in Mobile yesterday, and I thought there's just no way. I already have enough connections to the story.
Why no way?
Because I already have enough connections to this story, and it was just it just seemed like I felt like I felt like I was living in a weird alternate reality of some kind, because again, I grew up on Long Island. I live now here in Tampa Bay. I have a lot of connections to this story personally, and I have family in both areas of the country, on Long Island and in Florida, that have been texting me around the clock about this story.
Yeah.
And I also have tons of friends and colleagues of mine, former colleagues of mine, in Mobile County, Alabama. And there was a lot of speculation yesterday as to whether or not Brian Laundrie was seen in Mobile County. So my immediate thought, and you'll have to forgive me, folks, but my immediate thought was there's just that's insane for where I am right now on this story, just because I know so many people there. But as we understand it, there was a body found in Tillman's Corner behind a Walmart yesterday that was confirmed not to be Brian Laundrie, and there have been sightings, and Mobile police have received enough tips to be looking into it, but there is nothing at this time to lead us to believe with any degree of certainty that Brian Laundrie is or was ever near Mobile, Alabama, or Mobile County, or the Gulf Coast area of Alabama in the last week.
But what an exciting thing to happen in a small town, right? And I think that but
there have been sightings everywhere. There have been sightings all over the place.
It goes to the story. It goes to what we've been talking about. Everybody is on this high alert. And it goes to what your point is. If you're in the general population in the world and you're walking around out there, yeah, it probably would be hard to be that guy right there, because we've seen him. We don't see a person of interest. We don't get this much of a look at them, right? We've seen how he walks. We've heard his voice. We got an idea how tall he is. It's not just a one-dimensional picture, it's three-dimensional. We generally think about that. We don't have that in these cases, but we have it here. So anybody who looks like that is probably getting some stares.
Right. And I was talking about it yesterday. It's not an all that uncommon sort of look to have a shaved head and facial hair, and to be, I guess, trim. Would you describe him as lanky?
Yeah, he's lanky. Trim. Sure. And you know what?
There's a lot of guys out there like that match that description.
Sure, and people also have unique walks. We saw him walk. I think that's an important profiling tool. Really, the guy walked. There's a walk right there. So you get an idea, and there's another guy that's the dad. So again, yeah, it's a common look. We also had a tip that he was in Jacksonville around the same time that he was in.
Tips have been coming in a lot of different places.
Yeah. So. And I think everybody's looking into all of those tips.
Yeah, and if anything, of course, it emerges out of Jacksonville or Mobile, Alabama. We were monitoring the news out of Southern Alabama yesterday just to see if there was any validity there, and it turned out, of course, not to be the case. But Mobile police, I know Mobile police. I worked with Mobile police for 5 years. I know them. I know the folks over there. They're great people, and they're of course working, and I'm sure their phones are ringing off the hook. Let's get to this one here from Twitter, from Kim Walsh Reed on Twitter. Do the authorities not have infrared helicopters? Hashtag Gabby Petito, hashtag Brian Laundrie, hashtag HJB, hashtag Hey Paul. And we don't know.
We don't know that.
We don't know that.
And by the way, they more than likely don't want us to know that. That's one of their tools.
That's an outstanding point, Walt. They're not going to broadcast that to the world.
If they catch him that way, they'll tell us, but they want us to know as little as possible, because they don't know if he's listening, although I don't know how he's listening out there. But
let me tell you, this is again an outstanding comment and question that I've been so wrapped into this story now day and night for the last week plus, that I forget about little things. The little things matter, and the little things like what Ali Sia just commented here on Facebook Live. Hashtag HJB. Some of us are still wearing masks.
Yeah.
Can he hide his identity with a mask and possibly a hat, and then
sure
you put on sunglasses, you put on a hat, you put on a mask. You don't know that it's a bald guy. You don't know that it's a guy with facial hair. You have no idea what he looks like, and you wouldn't say that that's out of the ordinary, because if you're outside, okay, you put on sunglasses. If you're outside, you put on a hat to shade your face from the sun. You're wearing a mask because of COVID.
I would say, though, this guy has such a high visibility. And again, going back to the video, we also know his height, his body frame. We've seen him move. We've heard his voice. I think it would be hard with that. But yeah, there's no doubt. And everybody watching this right now is fascinated by the story. Not everybody's fascinated by the story. There are people who are not watching it this closely. So there are people out there who don't know who Gabby Petito is right now, believe it or not. I know that's hard to believe. And there are people who don't know they haven't watched this story. So I'm not going to say it's impossible for him to somehow get away, if you will.
Let me share something that I have received word, and I don't know that if this was 100% true, but I have received word off the clock in the last 24 hours that that the Petito and / Schmidt families have been watching some WFLA Now clips that have been surfacing online, and some of the live streams, just some of our coverage here of this story. And I just want to take a moment here, and we have been, we have tried to do things as much as possible here to be as respectful to this story as possible, to the sensitivity that is necessary for a story like this when we have a family that is grieving, a family that is in a tremendous amount of pain, a family that has been really suffering here. And from Walt and myself and our entire team here at WFLA, if any member right now of the Petito or Schmidt families are watching, I just want to let you know that our hearts are here with you on this story, and we're thinking of you guys. We had a moment of silence. We took you live to a memorial that was set up here in Northport, Florida a couple of nights ago, and I just want to let you know that whether it's on the clock or off the clock, I'm thinking about you. We're thinking about you, and I hope that we can. We've had so many comments, Walt, of people saying prayers for Gabby, prayers for Gabby's family. And I think that there are a lot of people out there that really, really just want to send their well wishes. So on behalf of all of our commenters, our viewers, and our entire WFLA News Channel 8 staff, if there is a member of the Petito or Schmidt family watching right now, I would just like to pass along that we're thinking of you. You're in our hearts and our prayers, and we are covering this story with as much care and as much compassion as we possibly can here, as we try to find out exactly what happened to Gabby.
And I think to that point, obviously there's a lot of criticism and fair criticism aimed at journalists. But I would say for myself, and I think I can speak for JB, we do not lose sight of the humanity in this, and realize that what we're talking about was a 22-year-old with dreams and people who loved her. We've seen images of her smiling, happy. This is not one of them. We've seen images of her maybe at one of her lower points right here. So we get it. And there's Mrs. Schmidt. And we get it. We have kids, and I think everybody sort of thinks about their own kids when they cover. No, I don't know about everybody. I know myself. We think about our own kids when we cover a story like that, because this is somebody who was just headed for success. She was chasing a dream, on a journey, seemingly in love with somebody, and him seemingly in love with her, and then out of nowhere something goes wrong. No matter what happens, no matter what the cause of death is, we know something went wrong, horribly wrong, that she would die alone out in that area. So yeah, our hearts go out to those families, 100%. That's a great thing to say, JB, and I hope they realize that as we cover this, that the person, the human being, is in our mind as well.
Yeah, it's a story that has struck me emotionally. I think there have been enough clips circulating on TikTok and Twitter of some of my emotional moments here covering this story. And we are humans too. And we are just trying to deal with all of the questions, all the inquiries, all of the reports, all the speculation, all the theories, all the social media platforms. But most importantly, we are trying to do everything as far as what our job is here, with the knowledge that we have a family right now that is in terrible, terrible pain. And we can only hope that there's some news here soon that gives them some comfort, any comfort whatsoever, as far as what happened to their daughter. Let's resume now what we're going to really start to do. Walt, how long? I know that you have a very busy day here as far as working the phones.
For a little while. I'm good for a little while.
Let's go rapid fire here. File in your hashtag HeyJB, hashtag HeyWalt comments here. Eagle 8 HD had to depart from the scene. We'll get
maybe
a reason
refueling
here. It probably had to do with fuel. That's, as I understand, it had to do with fuel. But we'll get more of an update here for you as far as Eagle 8 HD and the ongoing search efforts. So right now we don't have a live feed. That's why you're looking at some video here in the center of your screen. But what we can do here is carry the conversation forward. And we do that on WFLA Now by taking your questions. And we do that here with our hashtag system. Our hashtag system works as follows. Use hashtag HeyJB, hashtag HeyWalt with your Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube comment, and then we can animate your comment up here on screen. If you don't want your name and your comment to be featured in that way, we totally respect that. We just we just ask that you don't use a hashtag, and then you can continue to comment back and forth as much as you would like, and we'll just kind of let your comments scroll idly on by, and you can comment back and forth with your fellow commenters. But let's get to some more of the hashtag Hey JB, hashtag Hey Walt comments that are coming in here. And Peter Funai, hashtag Hey JB, hashtag Hey Walt, hashtag Hey Paul. Why wasn't he under surveillance?
Great question. It's been asked, has not been answered. And the police chief, maybe he was, and maybe he went out the back door, because the chief, with great confidence, said on Thursday,
we know where he is.
He was asked, and he said yes. I believe he was asked twice. Do you know where he is? Yes, and that was it. So with that in mind, it might imply they were watching him, but they definitely could have been watching it. It would have been legal to watch him. It might have even been recommended to watch him, but they apparently were not watching him, or they lost him somehow. Somehow he gave them the slip, if you will. We don't know, but great question.
And I spoke to Josh Taylor. That's another moment that is making the rounds on social media, a clip. But I spoke to Josh Taylor on Friday night. He is the spokesperson for Northport PD. And he called in, and we had a conversation with him, and he made the point too that at the time, you have to remember, he's not a missing person. Obviously, at that time, he is just a person of interest, and he was making the case that they weren't. It wasn't like this was a suspect that they were tracking, their every single solitary move, but there's been some interesting messages as far as how much did they really know of Brian Laundrie's whereabouts? How much did they really know of where he was and what he was up to, as he was the most talked about person in the country as far as the Gabby Petito story? So
let me just a little critical thinking right there from what Mr. Taylor said. I will say this, though, even though he was not a suspect, when they went to get their warrant on the 14th, they cited a statute. They didn't call him a suspect, but they cited probable cause related to a statute involving endangered people.
So then, if that's the case,
that was the 14th, and that's how they got into the van.
I'm going to say what everyone's thinking. If that is the case, then why can you not have nonstop surveillance on him?
You could have. There's no doubt you could have. They're police officers. They 100% could have. Did he say they didn't? If he said they didn't, they're going to be open to some criticism about this. If Brian somehow, I don't want to use the phrase get away, because again, he's still just a person of interest. They want to talk to him. They want to ask him what happened. But the vice is closing on this case, in that the autopsy is going to be conducted today. I believe I read somewhere in that particular area, it takes, I'm not going to say, I'll look it up, but I thought it was 2 to 3 weeks to get results. But they might have something preliminarily. But the point is, if it's foul play, we don't know it's foul play. Everybody's assuming it's foul play. We don't know it's foul play. If it is
not a homicide investigation, we have remains matching Gabby's description found in Northwest Florida.
In a secluded area where people go missing. But yeah, so I get what he's saying, but on that particular day, and I'll find the exact part of the statute, whereas this is from the affidavit for the search warrant, just so you know, we had people asking this. We see these all the time. The affidavit is the story. It's what you go to the judge with. You tell the judge, here's what we know, judge, and here's what we're looking for. And in this case, they said that the facts so made known to me by such affidavit as set forth have caused me to certify and find that there is probable cause to believe that the laws of the state of Florida relative to missing endangered persons, it's a statute, and they then a state law in regard to Gabriel Verona Petito. And that evidence connected to her whereabouts is currently located within the below described computer. And at that point, they're looking for the hard drive with a serial number. It's an external hard drive. What do we know is on there? Is it pictures? Is it information? We don't know. But so at that point, they're citing a state law in order to get the search warrant. So you have to ask the question. That's our job. Why weren't you watching him? If you're going to a judge and citing a state law, why weren't you watching him a little closer? Or were you watching him?
Yep.
And he got away? We don't know.
We don't know. But that's also a possibility here. Were they keeping tabs on Brian and then he was gone? we talk about the realm of
that
possible.
almost makes more sense.
And that's certainly in the realm of possible.
And again, we're only piecing things together. So but yesterday we were on the same broadcast, and Paul Lamison was up there with Eagle 8, and we did have visuals of them taking a picture of the back of the shed, which was kind of interesting. I don't know. And then I think Paul pointed out, if you go out the back door, you're going to have to hop through yards and stuff. Is that what happened? They haven't told us that yet. I'm sure if that's what happened, the Northport Police Department is probably, for lack of a better word, embarrassed about it. But we don't have that answer as to whether or not they did have them on surveillance. I'll tell you this, if you have someone on surveillance, and we do surveillance here, I've done it at past stations, you don't want them to know you're on surveillance. So it makes sense the police department wouldn't say, yeah, we're watching them. Why would you tell the person you're watching that you're watching them? So if you're going to take those facts into consideration, does it make sense that he somehow got away, that he slipped away, as opposed to anything else?
I'm bringing in some video here, folks, for our audience here. Of if you're just joining us, JB Buno, Walt Petito here with you live, bringing in some video now of the search efforts that Eagle 8 HD did have to leave the scene to refuel, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna play back some of those clips from the search efforts, and show you just again how much of a needle in a haystack sort of search this is. So let's bring in that video now, and we'll show you exactly what it's been looking like here as far as Carlton Reserve near Venice, Florida here, folks. Let's bring up this feed now, and there we have it. And again, just an enormous, vast area being searched here. This is still ongoing at this hour. This is no longer live video in the center of your screen, but this is still ongoing here at this hour. Let's get to Caroline Brienne Paget's comment here. #AJB. Walt, you're the perfect person to answer this question, or at least give us some insight on this question. How come the FBI didn't check the laundry house sooner? Is the question here from Caroline.
The United States Constitution. I'm going to go with the United States Constitution. You know, we have rights, and people have rights, and you don't get the FBI, no matter who, the FBI, no police department just gets to walk into a house and to get an affidavit. Here's the affidavit for these are the affidavits right here. It's about 12 pages. This is just to get into the car, into the truck. That was filed on 7/14. To get into a vehicle, I have to go to a judge. I have to say, this is why I want to get in the vehicle. I have to tell the judge what I know. So the FBI, same thing. They had to have a reason to go into the house. They don't just get to go in the house. Could they have done it sooner? Let's do the timeline. Monday, the Petito, Mrs. Schmidt comes forward, pleads with the Laundries to come forward and tell everybody what we know. You know, we take this back to July and everything, but let's face it, there's actually a window about August 25th to September 1st, where I think we would focus on that being sort of the critical point in Gabby Petito's life. We knew she was alive on the 25th. We know Brian came home on the 1st. 5 days, right? 6 days. That 6-day window is what we're focused on. Did she survive past that? We don't know. But we do know the family didn't know that she would report her missing until September 11th on a Saturday. They came forward to the media on the 13th, and it really has all unraveled in a 7-day period. So now FBI involved last week, really, for the first time. Is it? I mean, so I'm not here to defend the FBI, but they got to it when they could get to it. And yeah, it's a great question. But again, you have to have some evidence to go to a judge with before you get a search warrant.
All right, I think we got Eagle 8 HD back in the air here. And I know we got News Nation's Brian Enton, who's part of our coverage now here as well. We'll see if we can bring you some live reports there from Eagle 8 HD. And to our digital team here, I just want to again remind our digital team members, if we can bring in Eagle, if I can bring in Eagle, just please let me know. There are certain times where we've tried to communicate with Eagle, and Eagle has been communicating with a lot of different folks as far as what's going on right now with the latest with the search. So if we can take Eagle 8 HD, we will. But this is again recorded video from earlier on this morning. I think that one more thing with the search warrant. I think that people see shows like Law and Order SVU, and they see Elliot Stabler and Olivia Benson, or they see the district attorney
Happens
or
in an
assistant
hour.
district attorney, like, oh, they run into a judge in an elevator, sign this paperwork here. We need a search warrant. And then the judge will like get their glasses and look at it and be like, oh yeah, I'm sure this is fine. Yeah, sign it. Yeah, go in the house. It's not how it works.
It doesn't work.
That is clearly TV. And it's a little bit more in depth than what you see as far as
good
some of the shows
though.
online.
Really good show.
Excellent show.
Very entertaining.
I still watch. Let's get to this comment here. Let's go back to Twitter. We got YouTube coming up here. YouTube, our audience, really. Hello to YouTube.
Wow.
A lot of folks joining us. From Josh on Twitter, #HJB. Do you guys know if the U.S. Marshal's Office looking for Gabby, Brian?
Don't, but the U.S. Marshals would be looking for him if he was a criminal, right? He's not wanted for a crime. He's a missing person case. I'm going to look that up in my files. I know some U.S. Marshals, but I'm pretty sure they would only be involved if he was an actual fugitive from justice. And he is not at this point a fugitive from justice today as we speak. This is a missing person case, right? And a person of interest case, if you will.
Let's get to this one here from, I appreciate this question allows us to talk about something we haven't really talked about. It comes from Destiny on Twitter, #HJB. Are they absolutely sure he's there, or is this the best lead? I don't think they're absolutely sure that he's here. That could be the case.
Let's play timeline here, though. Let's play timeline.
You go first, Walt, and then I'll go second.
Let's play the timeline game. So we know that on Thursday, they said they knew where he was. I'm going to give the Northport Police Department the benefit of the doubt and say that they were watching him somehow. Because how would you know where he was unless you were watching him? Because then they go, unless, the parents if the parents said he was there on Thursday and then on Friday say he hadn't been there since Tuesday, they're caught in a lie. So I'm going to say that didn't happen. So now they go on Friday, he's missing since Tuesday. And the parents say, he liked to go to Carlton Reserve. So now that starts the search on Saturday. They go 2 days. We talked about this earlier. Did they get tired? Is it a manpower issue? Again, we're talking about thick brush. We're talking about the heat, humidity, and we're talking about a lot of water, snakes, dangerous stuff. It's not an easy thing. Again, not like the movies. Do they take a break? But we do know this. Again, on your show, JB, we saw the parents being taken out of the house by the FBI and then being brought back in, and they remained in that house during the rest of the search, which lasted for several more hours. Was there a conversation during that time? Was there a tip they found in the house that led them back to this particular location? We don't have those answers, but it is that day off sort of is something to wonder about. We do know, though, it is in a way their best lead. The parents told them on Friday that he liked to go hiking there, and that's where he went. And then I believe did they find his Mustang there? That was then towed away.
Yep, the Mustang. Yep.
The Mustang was then towed away from his house. And
we had that yesterday. Yeah.
And important to note, they searched one side of the woods for 2 days, and now they're on the other side of the woods starting today.
I want to add to Destiny's comment here by saying that it is either their best lead or it's their only lead. That's because this is an immense amount of resources being committed here to this area. We're talking about many, many teams, many officers, many folks with the FBI. They've pooled a lot in here. And we're not seeing any other searches ongoing here at any other location. So they've pooled a lot into this one area of Sarasota County. And we don't know what they know, but we know that they have a lot committed to this. So I believe it's their best lead or it's their only lead at this time. Let's get to YouTube. Hey, YouTube. Hey, Paul. Paul is in Eagle 8 HD, but from Nicole on YouTube, #Hey, Paul. Are they using boats or something to search the flooded areas? I can speak to this a little bit on behalf of Paul. There aren't interconnected waterways here that would make it would make it very, very difficult to get a boat in the water, even something that is designed for really, really shallow water. It would be extremely difficult, and you would run into dead ends everywhere. This isn't an area we have more water here because of all the rainfall, the absolute staggering amount of rainfall that has poured on this area over the last 72 hours. So this is particularly wet And some of the areas that are, to Walt's point earlier, some of the areas that are normally maybe 2 to 3 feet of water that you could, that's basically somewhat around up to right past your knee, is probably up to your waist. And that's just because of the amount of rainfall that we've had. But a lot of these waterways aren't interconnected. But if there was an area that they were really honing in on, and it was an area that had a lot of waist deep or shoulder deep water, you would imagine that they would have they would be towing a shallow water vehicle to the area here to search that particular pond. They would have dive teams out. These are some of the resources that I'm sure are on standby, but I don't think that we have seen any of that actively as part of this search. At
least here. Not here, but we also know from Joshua Taylor that canines are involved. And we have not seen canines, so we don't know if we're getting the, I think Paul pointed out, you look into those thickets of trees and you can't see anything. So for all we know, there are people in there, but this is video, obviously, from earlier.
Yep.
But right there, you get an idea of the water over what is presumably.
Look at it right there, top of your screen. See that? That's the type of water that we're talking about here.
And it's a section of what, again, 80 miles of trails. They do seem to be focused, at least from our visuals, in one area. But again, we're waiting for live pictures to come back on.
Let's get to this one here from, we'll stay with YouTube, from David on YouTube. #KJB, are they using infrared or heat sensors to try to find Brian? This question comes up a staggering amount, to where now you're wondering here, call me crazy, but I am not an expert on search tactics. Everyone's going to have to take what I'm about to say.
You can use that
I wonder
in the day. You can use that during the day.
That was going to be my question.
Yes.
And then also that I was going to answer, when the temperature decreases at night, it's hot still.
Now you're talking about night vision, which is a different animal. So,
right.
Yeah.
But how much is there an advantage to using night vision at night from an aerial vehicle like a chopper that makes it easier to search? Because, again, I'm not an expert in this territory. I want to make that perfectly clear for everyone on YouTube and TikTok and Reddit and everybody watching right now. I'm not an expert in this area. But Paul was talking earlier about how you can't see through some dense wooded areas when you're on an ATV or when you're using your binoculars, or even from the sky, because you have all of that leaf coverage overhead. So some of the most dense wooded areas, but with thermal imaging, can you see into that dense area, especially at night?
It's a good question. I don't know the answer to that
down.
Either. I mean, it is thick. It's thick out there.
It's thick.
And I think in a movie, you would be able to see him in a movie. Right. But this is real life. Sort of like people have asked about fingerprints. Most investigators will tell you fingerprints it's not like the movies. To get a really good print is not as common as we think.
Right.
And I would bet it's similar to this. It's great technology, but it's not like it would be in the movies. And I think, there are areas of brush that Paul pointed out. I'm just going to guess that in some of those areas that Paul showed us that we're seeing here, maybe not this area because it's not that thick. I'm going to say that the thermal imaging or the night vision is not going to pierce through all the way down into the bottom of those wooded areas. Again, it's a guess, but maybe somebody watching can offer some insight on that.
I would love to hear from. We have a lot. I've had a lot of in my email inbox, a lot of retired LEO,
yeah.
and it's been fascinating to hear from folks as far as some of the tactics that are and are not on the table. But let us know here in the comment section, #AJB, #Walt, and we can animate your comment on screen if you use one of our hashtags. Staying with YouTube for 2 more comments here from Trey on YouTube, #AJB. When do we hear the autopsy results? And we know that the autopsy is being conducted in Northwest Wyoming, again, on the remains matching the description of Gabby Petito that was found there in Northwest Wyoming. And we don't know when we hear the autopsy results. And people have been asking too here, and I had another comment in the queue here pertaining to how long, and let me see if I can find that one.
I'm looking it up right now.
Here it is. Hold on. We're going to jump to Facebook here for just a moment to Jamie Jose Salgado's comment here, #AJB. How long does it normally take to get the autopsy report back? Also, has there been any more information on the 2 women that were found dead near where Gabby and Brian were pulled over? First and foremost, to the second point of Jamie's comment here, Walt, You were on the story.
Yeah, so right after we aired our story, which pointed out the similarities between the case, the tangled timelines, and some of the places they'd been, like the Moonflower, right? Moonflower co-op.
Yep.
But the Grand County Sheriff's Department said on Friday night, cases are not related. Sadly, though, that small town, that small area, just got hit with 2 tragedies within a short period of time. The Teton County coroner says it usually takes 2 to 3 weeks to issue an autopsy report, but this report could take longer. So by state law, the coroner could request more time. So it could be 2 to 3 weeks before we actually know a cause of death.
Right. And now, are you talking about the preliminary results? Or you're talking about the official results?
This is from WFLA, so I'm going to say that it's true. That this is the coroner in that county saying Grand Teton, right? So it's Teton County.
Correct.
Coroner says it's usually takes 2 to 3 weeks to issue an autopsy report. Now that's not a preliminary report. Do they do something called a preliminary report?
Now, as I understand it, most agencies, most medical examiners' offices do release preliminary reports when
especially a case like this.
Especially a case like this.
You have a grieving family that want to know, and you have a person of interest. By the way, when I look at the legal definition, just to give people an idea of what person of interest means, it is, hold on, I have a legal, 1 second. It does, what did I do with that? I lost it.
Jamie, thank you for your comment here. We're gonna go back here to Trey's comment here from YouTube. More #KJB, #KWalt comments coming up here momentarily across YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, where we're live. And additionally, while Walt looks that up, reminder here, folks, all of our articles and the ones that Walt keeps talking about is on WFLA.com and the WFLA app. If you don't want to listen to us and hear it from us, just go read it for yourself. Our hardworking team behind the scenes here, WFLA, has the latest for you on WFLA.com and the WFLA app.
So the legal definition, if you will, of a person of interest is when law enforcement identifies someone possibly involved in a criminal investigation. It is very close to what a suspect is, but they don't have enough evidence to call him a suspect. So with that in mind, and we have if for some reason we knew where Brian Laundrie was, I'm sure the FBI and local law enforcement, FBI, the lead investigators in this case, would be okay with that 2 to 3 week turnaround for that autopsy. But we have a person of interest who is either in this wooded area or somewhere else. So you would think law enforcement would say, hey, county coroner, we need something sooner than that so we can turn this from person of interest or maybe he remains a person of interest. Maybe it's natural causes somehow. We don't know the cause of death. Maybe it's not suspicious. They have not said that. Sometimes law enforcement will tell us it looks suspicious. They have not said that. But again, this is the FBI. This is not a local department, and FBI is notoriously close holds their cards close to their vest. So, and
as far as, let's remind folks of this too. Not all autopsies are the same. There's no autopsy that really is the same as everyone's. Obviously we're dealing with every individual is different, and causes of death can be different. And medical examiners have seen it all, or at least many of them have seen it all. They have immense amounts of experience when they do examinations of bodies, especially in stories of this high of profile. But let's make it clear here as well that we don't know what condition the body was found in. We don't know if there's a medical examiner with enough experience can look at the remains of somebody and have a pretty good idea within a relative short time frame. And I'm talking about if somebody has gunshot wounds, and I'm not saying about this case. I'm just talking in generalities here. I'm talking about if somebody has gunshot wounds or strangulation marks around their neck. I mean, we're talking about or if there's dismemberment. And again, not to get too gruesome here, but there are some clues that can be very, very evident from the get-go, so to speak, when an autopsy is being performed. We don't know if there are any obvious signs or if it's going to take an extended amount of time before we know. I'll take a guess here that I think if it was an obvious cause of death, like
something that I think that I think we would have heard something, because we do hear when a body's found, we hear it a lot. A parent, let's say, blunt force trauma.
So you think on the last time now that we have heard from the FBI was at that press conference that was Sunday night, or Sunday evening.
I think if it was obvious,
they would have said it at that presser. You think
possibly, but think about this again. I don't want to be too gruesome here, and it's horrible to think about someone's final moments. We know, again, I'm going to go to that 5-day, 6-day window, 25, and it's really more like it's a 26-day window, or what would be like a 24-day window to when the body was found. We know she talked to her mom on the 25th. There was an odd text, according to this search warrant, sent on the 27th that the mom does not believe came from Gabby. It referred to her grandfather as Stan. And the mom said she doesn't call her grandfather Stan. That's on the 27th. But let's just give everything the benefit of the doubt. Let's think that she was still alive on the 27th. So even then, by the time they found her, it is 2 weeks later. I mean, yes, it's I think, and that's probably why the coroner is saying it could take longer because of that, sadly. And again, we don't have final confirmation. It is her, but we also have the father tweeting condolences about his daughter and the FBI. So there must be a sign. They must have found something to be pretty sure it's her, but cause of death, we don't know when we're going to hear that. We haven't heard it yet.
I know you and I are usually in lockstep, and I'm just going to say that I don't see it the same way in this one respect, that even if this is just my view on it, that if there was an obvious cause of death at the scene when they found the remains there in Northwest Wyoming, I believe that the FBI wouldn't have announced it at the Saturday evening press conference due to the sensitivity of the issue and due to the fact that the entire world was watching and wanted to give there to be some time to elapse there for the family to at least grieve the initial news here, and for the world just to process, and the country to process here what they had just found out, and that they were going to save that for a later date. I could be very wrong. I could be wrong that if they had taken some questions, or maybe they would have, if it was extraordinarily obvious, they would have said it there at that press conference. But I see a scenario there where even if it was an obvious cause of death, they just didn't feel like that was the time and place to do it with the entire world. Maybe it's
very possible. I would add this to that. Let me turn it another way. I would think that law enforcement, in some degree, they have some reason to call him a person of interest. They have some reason to believe a crime was committed. Wouldn't can they up their game, if you will, if he becomes a suspect? If he goes from person of interest to suspect. And if there was a reason to do that, it would probably be a cause of death, a suspicious cause of death. But, local departments usually will tell us when we respond to these things, and they will tell us suspicious, not suspicious. If it's not suspicious, we don't report it. We didn't hear even if this is suspicious. Right? I guess it's suspicious by nature, right? Her life shouldn't have ended out there. But yeah, it's interesting, and something we'll have to wait to find out what gets released and what doesn't get released.
One more comment from YouTube. Again, use #KWalt, #KJB, and we can animate your comments on screen. And Walt, I know you have a lot of calls to take, a lot of reports to write. If you need to hop off, you just let me know. From Casey on YouTube, #KJB. He apparently just left with a hiking backpack. How is he staying alive with food and water for almost a week?
There's a lot of water there. I don't know if you can drink it. Is anything potable?
You don't want to be anywhere near this water.
No, right.
You don't, let alone drink it.
That's a good question.
Gators, snakes.
Does he have survivalist abilities? Was he a regular? Did he go to those wooded areas regularly enough where he knows where there's a spring, where there's a spring? Does he know how to hunt? Did he? I don't know.
Rainfall, the amount of rainfall that we have had here in the last 72 hours in this area of the Tampa Bay area, a survivalist would know how to collect rainwater for drinking purposes and be able to stay alive here. But I wasn't kidding when I said this is a treacherous area with all of the gators and snakes that are out here.
Yeah.
This isn't where you want to go for a Sunday evening stroll.
No.
This is especially after rain. You want to, and you don't, and even if you did, even if you loved nature and you loved to be out in this area, you loved hiking, you would stay right on, yes, to Walt's point, you would stay right on the trail, and you wouldn't want to go anywhere near water that was waist deep.
Yeah.
Because you just don't know what is wandering around your ankles when you're in water like that. A great question here. Back to the search from Claudia Naylor, hashtag Hey Paul, again let's just throw up one more time, Paul Lamison, bottom right-hand portion of your screen in Eagle 8 HD. This is video from short time ago that Paul captured here, our wonderful chief photographer here at WFLA News Channel 8. I like Paul a lot, so I give him a lot of shout outs on air. Hashtag Hey Paul from Claudia Naylor, get the dog, the bounty hunter out there. Dogs will find him in a heartbeat. I'm really glad that Claudia brought up dogs and canines. And
there are dogs out there, according to Joshua Taylor. They have canines out there.
Canines, and I heard possibly bloodhounds. Yeah.
So
dogs are part of this search. And now, as far as picking up the scent, we now have a lot of Brian Laundrie's possessions from that search warrant executed yesterday. So even more that the dogs can sniff, get a really accurate scent, and we can use canines.
And perhaps that's why we're asking why today. Maybe today they're out there because yesterday they got something with his scent on it. And
the dogs here are the superheroes of this story.
Yeah, they very well could be.
As far as picking up a scent, because you execute a search warrant, you get a lot of clothing with his smell on it, and you're able to give it to the bloodhounds, and they're able to. Now we're back here today. That kind of makes a whole lot of sense. And Claudia, really big thanks for asking that question here, because we haven't had too many questions about the dog component of this story yet. Whitney Fountain, hashtag Hey Walt, will there be any more updates from the Laundrie home? I know, Walt, that we have crews at the Laundrie home right now.
So the Laundrie's attorney says canceled the news conference, saying after he spoke to the FBI, he decided to cancel a news conference that was scheduled for today. And we know from Joshua Taylor, who said there are no planned news releases for today from them. And we have been referred to the FBI's Denver field office for comment. Notoriously, the FBI does not have news conferences unless they are ready to have the result of an investigation. So, but we've had that same sort of pattern before in this case, and something happens and somebody talks. The FBI cares about headlines as much as anybody, and so they know the nation is watching this story. So I'm sure there will be some additional release of information today. I really believe that there has been a release of information, I believe, every single day since last Monday.
Oh, and Claudia here, I got so apologies for the laughter. I was so excited to take a comment about dogs. Wasn't talking about dogs, talking about Dog the Bounty Hunter.
Bounty Hunter. Yes, I noticed that.
But I was so excited to talk about bloodhounds and about canines being part of the search, because they could be, again, the superheroes of the story. I misread the comment. We're all human. I make a mistake. So YouTube blowing up right now talking about Dog the Bounty Hunter. Yeah, I missed that one. Yeah, everyone's going to have to forgive me. I read thousands of comments a day. And so that one more time here to Claudia. Claudia saying, hashtag Hey Paul, get Dog the Bounty Hunter out there. Dog will find him in a heartbeat. Again, talking about the individual, not the dogs. But it allowed us to have the conversation about canines and bloodhounds, and that's why.
Well, it's important. I mean, I think this is an area that you would probably use them, right? Unless the rain somehow this is not a pun, but dampens that ability, right? Does the rain somehow impact the bloodhound being able to find somebody in an area like that? I don't know the answer to that, but
YouTube, take it easy on me. It's been many days of comments. Again, let's get to some of the other comments that are coming in here. Amanda Mitchell, this is a fascinating one, and would be a wrinkle to this story that would send us into a completely different form of conversation here.
Man, it's hard.
Hashtag HJB, do you think that he is keeping up with the news somehow? Do you think he might have any electronics?
Even if he does, we were told especially right now, there are more, the bandwidth out there is limited anyway. We were told because we were having issues with our own electronics. And the more media you get out there, everybody's got a cell phone. The photographer does, the live truck operator. The band is being crushed right now, plus the police department. So, and then you just got to ask yourself, did he have a solar charger? If he's been out there for as long, I'm going to say that I'm going to guess that the electronics are limited at this point.
Back to my comment.
Plus you're going to get tracked, right?
Yep. Back to the email that I received from,
I was thinking
from a viewer. Too, yeah. And again, I'm not saying that I agree or disagree, but it stuck with me. Somebody said, sent me an email yesterday, I believe, and wrote me a note about Brian disappearing, and wrote in the email, and it said at the very bottom of the email, it said something to the effect of, at this point, I just don't think that I don't think Brian is stupid. And if Brian is smart, is he smart enough that he somehow has the electronic devices to keep up with the ongoing search efforts against him, or at least to find him? Again, a missing person. I say against him, but really for him. That would be a twist, certainly, to this
and then of
story.
Course the battery power part of it is the other part. So
Lisa DeMasi, #KJB, #KWalt. Why aren't they searching with drones? This process looks extremely slow. They are searching with drones. And I'd be very curious as to the technology that they're using, but I'm sure they are unmanned aerial vehicles. I'm a drone pilot. I took the course. I know a little bit about drone photography and drone surveillance, and
it's a great technology for this.
It's absolutely. We're talking about man hours being grueling here as far as the amount of coverage and the terrain and the topography here. So using unmanned aerial equipment to survey the area here it's perhaps just like dogs. It's one of those really precious resources that authorities have here. So there are drones in the sky. And you got to remember too, and I know from being a drone pilot that helicopters and drones, they have to be completely aware of their surroundings here. So there are drones in the sky. Wow. So wait, so there is a TFR. Well, that's interesting. So temporary flight restriction. No, what in effect, Jim? Oh wow. So when was the TFR put up?
Wow.
Today? Oh wow, that's interesting. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. Where'd you get that, Jim?
That's the FAA putting out okay, so this is new. It could be something, it could be nothing, but a temporary. And where's the exact location of, Jim, of that TFR? Is it the area that they're searching? Huh. So this could be one of two things, or one of several things. But let me just explain. Jim Hockett here with us at WFLA, also a drone photographer here. The TFR could be just to get rid of news cameras and get rid of the news.
I was thinking the same thing.
Get rid of the news choppers. Even though the news choppers can help, it could be. Or they put up a TFR, folks, is a temporary flight restriction. It's issued by the FAA, the Federal Aviation Administration, and they do that when they need to clear air traffic from an area. And Jim here, careful, you got touchscreens here. Don't touch anything. Jim here is saying that it's for first responder activity, temporary flight restriction issued by the FAA in the same area that you're looking at here. And that would make sense. We were talking earlier about why Eagle 8 HD wasn't here over the area anymore. That temporary flight restriction went into effect at 11:45, 45 minutes ago. That's when they went in. So they'll radio in, they'll say a temporary flight restriction has been issued here for this area. And that's a new piece of information, Walt. And again, could be something, could be absolutely nothing. But if they did find something, a TFR might have been issued to clear air traffic from that area and allow any resources to get to the area where they need to be focusing their search or focus their recovery efforts. The TFR issued by the FAA. Hey, Jim, was there any duration of that TFR? 7 p.m. So we cannot fly over this area until 7 Eastern.
So it looks like what?
This is video again for the center of your screen. The video in the center of your screen. This is from earlier. This is from earlier. This one is not live. In the center of your screen. Walt and I are live. Center of your screen is from this morning. What were you saying there, Walt?
Well, that they're basically covering their daylight time through 7 o'clock.
Right.
Yeah.
So that covers the entirety of the search here for today. But again, people have been asking about thermal imaging technology, and we were talking about that earlier. And Randall Guthrie came back here in the Facebook Live comment section, and thanks. This is what we do. We converse with you guys back and forth, and we get some helpful information from our audience. Hashtag AJB. It's called FLIR, or is that, would you say FLIR or FLIR heat stands out and contrasts against the cold. So, hey, this is technology that
if Randall can reach back out, can he, as he looks at these trees and the thickness of the trees, does it work through that type of stand of trees?
Does FLIR heat
during the day
come through in dense
a thick stand of trees? How thick can the stand of trees be for that?
Let's take a few more here. Emma O'Brien, hi from Ireland. Hashtag HeyJB. Please address why the 911 call wasn't made more of an issue until yesterday. Him hitting her. Walt, how much have you been following the 911? Again, we our crews here at WFLA.
Well, it's interesting. I got an email about somebody referencing that if you look at just the video, she admits scratching him and slapping him. But if you look at the police report, as I've used in my stories over the last couple of days, references him grabbing her face and pushing her up against the van, and also references an eyewitness that saw, excuse me, the male in this case, and they called him the man because they didn't know his name, Brian Laundrie, physically assaulting her. So it seems as though they were physically assaulting each other. And then, yes, that 911 call, the guy said, he said that he saw him hit her. And that's why he called police. So yeah, it seems like the hitting went back and forth. And then at one point there was an incident where she was left out of the van and told police she feared he was going to leave her in Moab, and that she climbed through the window of the van in order to get in the van. And then, of course, there was the incident where she admits slapping him while they're driving. They go up on the curb, police stop him. And by the way, if that doesn't happen, we don't have that bit of evidence. Someone else has also pointed out, if somehow they would have been separated at that point for good, Gabby is still alive, but that's Monday morning quarterbacking at this point.
Let's play the 911 call. Walt, I think that we're going to let you depart here as you work on some of your reports for tonight on WFLA News Channel 8, your NBC station here in Tampa Bay. We're going to play back the 911 call here in just a moment, and we're going to continue taking your questions, and the conversation continues here, but we're going to say goodbye to Walt for now. Walt, what are you working on tonight?
Actually, I'm working on some stories for the future, for the next couple of days, a couple of things, but and Gabby has sort of the Petito story sort of has taken a back seat, but still
back seat for
today at least.
For today, again, yeah. we're moving some of our investigative team around here to again, we're covering a lot of news here that's going on in the Tampa Bay area, but. I think 8 on your side, Masa Saidi is 8 on your side. Investigator Masa Saidi is also talking about Gabby Petito tonight on air as well. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. So Walt, we really appreciate.
Thanks, JB. It was interesting. It's always good to hear from viewers and people watching this, especially when calls come in from Ireland. That's always.
We've had Ireland, New Zealand, Germany.
I'm actually doing a talk back with an Australian TV show tonight at 5.
Kristen Snyman.
They saw it. Yeah. So yeah, it has captured the world. The stories captured the world.
Hashtag KJB. I'm from South Africa. I know in God's grace he will be found. All right, Walt, thanks a lot for sticking around.
Thank you.
The conversation continues here in a minute.
Good work.
Thank you. Thank you, Walt. Let's get to again some of the 911 call, the entirety of the 911 call. We're going to play that back here for you. The conversation continues coming up here next on WFLA Now.
Grant County Sheriff's Office.
Were you able to get a description of the intoxication?
Hi, can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hi, I'm calling. I'm right on the corner of Main Street by Moonflower, and we're driving by, and I'd like to report a domestic dispute. Florida with the white van, Florida license plate, white van, gentleman,
Where's it at?
5'6" beard. They just drove off. They're going down Main Street. They made a right onto Main Street from Moonflower.
Or what were they doing?
Cooperative, but what do you say?
What were they doing?
We drove by and the gentleman was slapping the girl.
He was slapping her?
Yes, and then we stopped They ran up and down the sidewalk. He proceeded to hit her, hopped in the car, and they drove off.
Okay, you said it's a white van?
White van. I can give you the license plate. Just give me 1 sec. I took a picture of it.
What kind of white van? Like a big one?
It was a smaller van with the license plate of, it was white, Florida license plate QFT G03. The make was a Ford, model was Transit, black ladder on the passenger side.
Black ladder, passenger side.
White Ford Transit.
White Ford Transit. Okay, what's your name? And where did they, so they headed south on Main Street from Moonflower Market?
Correct. They made the right turn.
Oh, so they went north.
North. Yeah, sorry, I'm not from around here.
Okay, so you're right there by the post office?
Right across the street, yep.
Okay, and when they turned onto Main Street, they went right or left?
Right.
Right, so they went north. North on Main. All right, I will let somebody know. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
Bye.
Thanks.
Again, JB Buno here with you live. That was the 911 call that was made in Utah pertaining to the domestic dispute that would eventually become that call with the body camera video that we have now seen so many times here on WFLA now. A temporary flight restriction has been issued as of 11:45 a.m. A TFR issued by the FAA for a first responder activity here. That means the no news helicopters, unless they get an exemption from the FAA, which is extraordinarily rare, those news helicopters are going to be allowed to show you the search area at any longer. Now, that's a curious development, only because news choppers can assist, just like truckers on the road, truck drivers who can be really helpful on the radio and communicate and talk as far as a missing persons case. News choppers can be on the radio sometimes can radio into the same frequency if necessary as first responders and let them know, hey, you might want to check out this area. We found something here. We have, of course, our chopper here at WFLA, and that can be used but as of right now, the temporary flight restriction completely vacates all unnecessary air traffic here from this area for the TFR, which is the exact area that we were live from earlier on today. What you're looking at here, some of the clips from earlier where we saw some of those search efforts ongoing here. So the TFR issued at 11:45 Eastern to 7 Eastern, 7 tonight. So that takes us through till sundown, and we won't be able to show you any more live from there. But we're going to continue the conversation here for you folks. And is that something, or is that nothing? Did they clear air traffic there for a particular reason, or was it because they didn't want news choppers there and there? We don't know exactly why the TFR was issued, but if we find out, we'll let you know. Let's take this question here from Kristen Russell, #HeyJB, #HeyWalt. Is there confirmation search that the search is still ongoing after the TFR? Absolutely. It's just to get rid of unnecessary air traffic in the area there. So the search is still ongoing. We have been told that the search is still occurring at this time. Until we're told otherwise, they are going to be combing through this dense area of Carlton Reserve and looking for Brian Laundrie. And until we have any information that says that the search has been called off, of course, the search is ongoing here at this time. Ashley Jameson, #HeyJB. I missed it. Did you say that drones cannot fly over the area due to the TFR? And of course, the drones that are in place can still fly through the TFR, provided that they are, of course, authorized by law enforcement and by the federal. Of course, the FBI and the FAA are in lockstep. They're federal agencies. So the drones that are in the air, we believe that they are federal drones. They can stay in the air and continue participating in the search here. We're going to be bringing in new members of our team here, folks, at WFLA News Channel 8. We have more folks that are going to be joining us to take your questions and your comments here in the Facebook Live comment section. And the next person that we have joining us here on WFLA now is WFLA News Channel 8's Josh Benson. And Josh, you're a little taller, just a little taller than Walt, aren't you? Yeah, well, there you go. You can come down a little bit here, and you can reposition your microphone here. Welcome to What Happens here, live on stream here, folks.
Good to see everybody.
Yeah, hey, Josh, grateful to have you here. As we continue to add, I'm going to step away for just a moment here, folks, maybe 90 or so seconds, to get more comments from our YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook Live audience into our queue here. But in the meantime, file in your hashtag HeyJB, hashtag HeyJosh questions and comments here, and we'll take them. I'll step away here for just 90 seconds to grab those comments. But Josh, what has struck you today so far about this story?
Well, I'm still processing yesterday. I was out at the laundry residence all day yesterday, and that was interesting, that whole event, just in the fact that there was a lot of stuff that was taken from the house. Obviously, Brian Laundrie's Mustang was towed away from the property, what we believe to be Brian's vehicle. The parents were questioned in one of the vehicles while we were out there. And throughout the day, it was just comings and going from law enforcement and the FBI, and then they called off the search of the home at the very end of the day. So they've processed the home or whatever they wanted to take, and they finished that off by the end of the day. Now the search today obviously refocused on this Carlton Reserve. The announcement coming out earlier today, as you mentioned, that they're going to pick the search back up, and that's where we're here today. So I'm coming into this now just trying to catch up a little bit. But you said there was a TFR that was
TFR issued. This is video from Eagle 8 HD a little bit earlier on here, folks, and our Eagle 8 HD news chopper has been told to vacate the area here, and we're not going to be able to fly here over the search area any longer. So if that changes, the TFRs have been known to change. They pop up and they go. TFRs, what are they used for? For example, TFRs are used for major events, like, for example, a Tampa Bay Buccaneers game or the Super Bowl. A TFR will be put up at game time to ensure that no unnecessary air travel is in that area. Only authorized air travel that can go through the area actually does. And so that's the update that we have here for you, folks. But yeah, that's kind of the latest. Josh, I think your camera has froze here.
Yeah, I think I'm frozen.
It did. It does. The camera freeze. That camera on that shot freezes every now and again. So let's see if we can fix it. 2 taps to the touchscreen, and I think we might be able to bring it back here. There we are. Terrific. And what stuck out to you? You were at the house for an extended period yesterday. What stuck out to you while you were there and covering this story?
Well, I think the media had a big impact out there yesterday. I kept saying it was reminiscent of the Casey Anthony case. So I worked in Orlando when Casey Anthony's case happened, and George and Cindy, they were the parents of Casey Anthony, and they had a similar small town, small street area where the media just descended upon it and set up just almost a tent city and stayed there for weeks on end, just waiting for any new developments to happen. So that's kind of what it felt like yesterday, is seeing this. Northport's not that big, this town, and this street that they lived on was not that large. So to have all the media just kind of descend in on this small street was interesting to watch. Each of the neighbors' yards were pretty much accounted for by different networks. And then the local networks were up in front, standing in a puddle that kept growing because of the rain that had fallen yesterday. But just watching the scene, I mean, there wasn't too much action out there until they would bring out some boxes, or they, towed away that Mustang, like I mentioned. That was the Mustang believed to be Brian Laundrie's vehicle that, was at this Carlton Reserve that we had heard as reported. And then the parents claimed that they drove that back to the house. So that sat at the house for several days until it was towed away yesterday. They have a maroon pickup truck in the front yard that I believe is theirs, because they were checking in. The parents were going out to that vehicle several times yesterday, grabbing things or putting things in. So as far as the parents are concerned, I'm not sure if they're still in the home or if they had left. Then obviously there was the report of having a news conference today at 1:00 that got canceled. And now there is a new update about a separate news conference coming at 2:30. Have we talked about that at all? So
what's the details on the 2:30 presser?
I don't want to speak out of turn here, but I just saw that there was an update that there was going to be a news conference coming up. I believe, I don't want to speak out of turn. It might have been Petito's parents going to say something maybe in response, but let me find the details on that. But I think that was new because the first news conference that the parents was canceled, right?
Yeah, so
at least there's some things happening today. Obviously, the search is back, and they're focused on it, so they must believe he's there. You have the FBI leading the charge. You have Northport Police and all these other agencies. So it's probably a good indication he's out there somewhere, and he is known to travel. He's known to camp. So I'm assuming that he's going to have to be very good at that to be able to survive out there, because you have alligators, you have snakes, you have everything else, making this a very dangerous search even for law enforcement.
Yeah, look at just how I mean, you can see here that's a considerable amount of water there, and that's not ankle deep. That might be knee or waist deep there, as far as some of the, or even worse, as far as some of the water. And Josh, you were out there in that rain yesterday. Can you speak to how hard it rained in Sarasota County yesterday?
I couldn't believe that it started when we got there, and it was really coming down. I mean, it was making where the reporters were in the front of the street, all standing in 6 inches, almost a foot of water. That means their tripods. That means their gear. Everything I had was completely soaked. We had a tent that we actually brought, which was a good idea, but even that was having a hard time holding the water up. So just to stay there and try to get a live shot and try to get the news out to the people was a challenge yesterday, but it worked out. Eventually it stopped raining and it cleared up. But for a lot of crews out there, it was a job. And for these guys, if it starts to rain out here, look at that. Look at how muddy that is. And just to get through that is a miserable process. How old is this video?
This morning.
This morning, okay.
11.
And that TFR went into effect when?
11:45.
Okay.
It's curious.
Yeah.
And let's take some more comments and questions coming in here. Again, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. Hello, JB Buno, Josh Benson, JB, and JB here with you on WFLA Now. And we'll take some questions. You can use hashtag #HeyJosh. Hashtag #HeyJB with your question or your comment here, and then we can animate them on screen. As a reminder here, though, we're not going to put up any wild conspiracy theories that are baseless, fraudulent claims, or anything that isn't. If you ask a question about, is this possible or is this not possible, sure, we can address it, but to type in all capital letters that this happened to Gabby or this happened to Brian and I know this happened, and you have absolutely no source for your information.
Yeah,
that we're not going to.
Doesn't help.
That we don't. The comments don't automatically appear on your screen. They get, of course, moderated here, and then they get animated on your screen. So, yeah, we're gonna of course make sure that the comments that appear on screen are ones that we can use to carry the conversation forward. April Bay here, hashtag #HeyJB, hashtag #HeyJosh. What do you think this TFR means? Are they closing in on him?
Well, for a technical perspective, too, for those of you who don't know what a TFR is, it's a temporary flight restriction usually issued by the FAA. So, I mean, that's something that it's trying to clear the airspace above where something is happening. Usually that's designated to keep aircraft away. Could be a hazard in the area. Sometimes this is due to toxic gas spills or maybe volcanic eruptions, which we know neither one of those are the issue here. But sometimes it could be to, prevent information from being released. In this case, a body found. It could be a situation where a body or someone is there and they're about to make an arrest. So in this case, it's a good question, April. I'm not quite sure why they would issue that unless there's sensitive aspects of the search or they think they're getting closer. JB, what do you think of that?
Yeah, are they getting closer? It's hard to say when we're talking about a needle in a haystack sort of search here. But I'll say this. Here's one thing that clues us in as to why the temporary flight restriction might have been issued, Josh. As I understand it, the FBI took over the search efforts today as far as leading the strategies, component of these search efforts, which is unlike what we had over the weekend where Northport police and law enforcement, it was the FBI is in charge of what's going on here today. The FBI has a little bit more power as far as what they can do to make sure that this search goes on as smoothly as possible. The FBI can call up the FAA with one phone call and say, we need a TFR issued. And that's probably a big reason as to why we have the TFR today. I think it's easy to look into this and being like, wow, it was issued at 11:45. It's a first responder activity TFR. There could be something going on, but it could just be that the FBI says, you know what? All the unnecessary air traffic in the area, it's not helping as much as we thought it would. We need our drones to be able to survey the entire area, participate in the grid search as much as possible without having any obstacles such as news choppers in the air. Let's issue the TFR and make sure that we have the entire sky to ourselves to comb through this area. That's more than likely what it is, but I could be reading too much into it, but that's probably somewhat close, or it's worse.
And I think what's interesting about that is here you had Northport leading the investigation. They called the search off. Then a body was discovered. Then this whole investigation ramps up. And for the FBI to come in, take over and say, we're going back to search the park or the reserve, that speaks volumes, because they know what kind of work that is to try to bring all these people in and resources in to search this place. So if they thought he had fled, or if they thought he was spotted somewhere else, they may look into that, but it's not enough evidence to say, hey, he's probably still in this reserve, so we got to get back to there. And why did we ever stop searching? So they took the upper hand and said, we got to get back into this reserve and figure out where he's at.
Interesting and curious. Josh, before we move on to some other #HJB, #Josh comments here, what do you make of the search not occurring yesterday here at Carlton Reserve and reemerging here today after the weekend search, reemerging here today a little bit closer to Venice?
It didn't make any sense to me, because if they had indication he was in the reserve and they knew what kind of job that was going to be, why ever stop the search? But what was weird is they stopped the search, they find a body. Well, now the search is ramped up 1,000%, because now they really need to find this guy, because of the facts that, hey, he came home on his own. He isn't willing to speak. And now technically, did he flee or did he leave? He's not coming back. All those things are going to start adding up to probable cause for law enforcement to say, all right, we have enough now that we can, once we spot him and find him, he's going to be arrested.
Probable cause to, again, the search warrant being executed yesterday. And what was the activity like, Josh? We're going to take some more #HJB, #Josh comments here in just a second. But what was that like being there yesterday while on the same day that the search warrant was executed and all those boxes were removed from the home? Yeah,
it was interesting. I mean, I think that just kind of put an exclamation point on the fact that was ground zero of where this case is now going to restart. Body was found, likely that of Gabby Petito. Now they know that this family's not speaking and Brian's not speaking. So what are they going to do? They get the search warrant. They get to go into the house and take whatever they need. I'm sure they took a lot. The boxes that they were bringing out indicated there was a lot of stuff coming out of that house. The parents were brought into a minivan for questioning. They weren't arrested or anything, but they were brought in to have a talk to out in the parking lot of that home. So that was interesting to see them get spoken to. And then the vehicle that Brian, I believe, owns, or it's Brian's vehicle, the Mustang, was towed away from the scene. And that was later in the day when the rainstorm came through. So they want to obviously bring that in as evidence and take a look at it.
And see if there's any examination of that vehicle that can lead them closer to a more confined search area. I want to read.
Because look, the story is that he took that vehicle to this reserve. And the parents claim that they went to pick the vehicle up and bring it back home. So if they're looking for him in the reserve, the car is a part of that investigation.
Let's talk about this tweet that just came in from News Nation's Brian Enton. News Nation, of course, is part of our company, Nexstar Nation, and News Nation, of course, is our network that of course pools all of our resources together. And if you haven't watched News Nation, a phenomenal product, I encourage you to do so and check on your local listings. But Brian Enton, who is the Florida correspondent for News Nation, he was just in Eagle 8 HD right as they were issuing the TFR, and he tweeted out 4 minutes ago, again from News Nation's Brian Enton on Twitter: law enforcement flight restriction went into effect right while we were over the reserve, back on the ground, going to drive into the reserve now. You don't appreciate how large the area is until you are in the air. It's massive, and very few roads/trails. We're seeing it here from Eagle. So again, the TFR is curious because you would imagine that maybe you would want as many aerial vehicles in the air as possible. Having somebody with Paul's experience, I can just speak for Paul Lamison. This is somebody with decades of experience covering news here in the Tampa Bay area.
Right.
So somebody who knows the lay of the land here in Tampa, you'd want his eyes in the sky. But apparently, again, the TFR being issued here, clearing all unnecessary air traffic here out of the area in the TFR, and that has grounded Eagle 8 HD. These are, again, highlights here in the center of your screen. So if it's so vastly large, you would think that they would want as many people in the air as possible, but this could be because the drones need as few obstacles as possible in the air to conduct their searches thoroughly and as expeditiously as possible.
Did they state how many drones they were using?
We saw one, and they're small. They're not big.
That could be the reason for the TFR too. It's just simply that they need the airspace.
Or maybe they need to get more drones in the air.
Right.
Maybe they said, okay, listen, this is really challenging. This is really becoming a massive needle in a haystack sort of sort of search. We need to get more drones in the air, and to do that, we need to clear out news choppers.
But of course, there are regulations on how far and how high drones can go versus where a helicopter can go, and we're all very aware from our perspective on, Paul Emerson and our pilots know exactly how low they should be in comparison to the fact that drones could be below them, and they never try to interfere with each other's airspace. But it's a good point. I mean, it could be they just want to definitely clear the air for themselves, even if they bring in their own helicopter to check every acre of land that they can.
Let's see here. WFLA News Channel 8 from Twitter, from Starship Dude on Twitter. Gotta love Twitter. Hashtag AJB. And again, if you want to tweet hashtag AJB or hashtag AJosh, we can take your questions and comments here on screen. The TFR only applies at and below 400 feet above ground level, likely to allow for drones to operate, but news helicopters could still fly well above that. We're gonna have to fact check this one. But now the temporary flight restriction can be established at certain levels and certain altitudes of airspace, correct? So
they could have like a full TFR. So, right.
I think Starship Dude, if you are a Starship Dude,
it only applies at or below 400 feet.
I don't know if this, and we'll check
on
on
major
that.
event. They can clear helicopters.
Can you look into that? I don't.
That's what my thought was. They may not want to complicate the airspace from a helicopter level too.
Right. So,
yeah,
I don't know if the TFR is this particular TFR that was issued applies to 400 feet above ground level only exclusively. So we'll find out more, and if we can find out more about that, we will. But thanks. Hey, again, this is the observations that we get on Twitter and on Facebook and on YouTube. From BB Fan on Twitter, hashtag AJB, hashtag AWalt. What is up with the no service in Yosemite text? There were updates about the stand text, but I'm not seeing the Yosemite text come up anymore.
either, because yesterday there was a drone out at the residence. One of the media outlets had a drone, and they were flying it right up to the front door and right above the house. And with the advent of drones now, and they're so easy to deploy and put up over a search like this. So I'm sure they don't want anybody to be out there with their own drones and have 20 or 10, 15 drones out there trying to help, identify what's going on and getting all this video. So to clear that shallow airspace is probably a very good idea. And they've done this obviously many times before.
Let's get to some more questions. Shout out to Starship Dude.
Yeah, he called that one. Nicely done.
Yeah, and this is why this is all evolving in real time. Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. You guys are awesome. I know that there's a lot of misinformation out there and a lot of landmines as far as conspiracy theories and some of the rabbit hole areas of the internet. You can get lost in a lot of different avenues for misinformation. But every now and again, we get a comment here no, it's not every now and again. Every moment we're getting really meaningful comments here, and we really appreciate it here as far as our audience. So wherever you're watching from, thank you for watching here with us on WFLA Now. Josh Benson, JB Buno here with you live, and let's see here. That was
a good question. That was
from
about how
Jillian.
long. Yeah.
Hey, you want to read it here,
Sure.
Josh? I'm gonna grab some more comments.
This is from Jillian on Twitter. Assuming Brian is still alive and in the reserve, how long could he stay out there? Wouldn't he eventually have to come out? Very good question. There's probably certain numbers on how long somebody could survive without water or with water. And considering the fact that he has camped a lot, he's been to, national monuments. They did this big trip across the country. You would assume in this case, if he was out there, that he would be prepared and he would have what he needs to survive in the event that he's going to stay out there for a few days. Problem is, this is very soggy land. It's wetlands. There's animals out there. There's, if you build a fire, it's going to be very obvious from a helicopter's perspective to find you. So it's going to be very difficult to try to keep a low profile if that's what is happening in this situation. That's purely speculation. But if that is the case, then that would make it even more challenging to try to stay out there unidentified. But as far as surviving, that's a different question. I think it comes down to water, most likely. I mean, you can't live without water for a few days? JB, I don't know for sure, but I think it's a few days. And then I think that you're really in trouble if you don't have any water.
Yeah, water, of course, extraordinarily important. And but again, water, Josh, you had a lot of it fall on your head yesterday.
That's
so
true.
Any survivalist out there who knows how to, stay out in the wilderness for an extended period of time would know how to utilize the water falling from above their heads. And so
that would be miserable out there to try to last out there for longer than a day, I would imagine. Just the mosquitoes, the just whatever creatures are out there, and to be there overnight, that's not a pleasant experience, I can imagine.
Yep. Let's get to this one here. Holly Abramovitz.
I'm guessing here.
Hashtag HJB. Is Brian for sure in this area? Could the family have made this information up? Weird car scenario was reported. Let me just address this component of the story, and Josh, I you could chime in here as well, but there have been a lot of accusations made against the parents that at this time are baseless. And people can envision the story in their brains that Brian returns home, tells mom and dad that something terrible happened. They contact the attorney. That's why the attorney was hired or brought in so quickly, and that the parents absolutely know a whole lot more and some have even gone as far enough to theorize. And again, I'm just summing this up here based on, again, the rabbit hole that is TikTok and Reddit and some portions of YouTube. You will find all of these theories that the parents are actively involved in making sure that their son doesn't get found here. And there's no credit to those accusations here at this time. We asked Josh Taylor, Northport police spokesperson, are the parents cooperating with his disappearance? He said that they are cooperating with finding Brian. And so everyone out there just wants to immediately assume that the parents have a role in this. But we have to tell you that there's nothing at this time that leads authorities to believe, or based on what we know publicly at this time, that the parents are involved. But Josh, there's been a lot of speculative comments, as you would imagine. Listen, this is social media in 2021. There's going to be endless speculation out there, but so many people asking about not just Brian Laundrie, but Brian Laundrie's parents.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the real indication why we're so fascinated with this reserve right now is because of the attention from law enforcement. They're out there, and they wouldn't be out there if they didn't think something was out there. If they had proof that something was, they knew that wasn't out there. So, yeah, I mean, we follow the trail just as they do. If they're going to be out there and they're going to dedicate this amount of resources to it, we better keep a close eye on it because they could find something very soon.
Let's get to this new development here from Josh Taylor, who we were just talking about.
Speak of the devil.
City of Northport Police. He's the communications manager and public information officer for Northport Police, who we had on WFLA Now on Friday night. He has sent a media update, and it reads as follows. Nothing has been found as of 1 o'clock Eastern time. There is no presser planned at this time. Again, this is an FBI-led criminal investigation, and Northport Police are assisting our federal partner in any way we can to bring this investigation to a close.
You know, that's the first time I've heard it called a criminal investigation. Have you heard that yet?
No.
So it's a manhunt, essentially, based on that. That's what it sounds like to me.
Josh, I'm right there with you.
They're still calling him a person of interest, as far as I know. They haven't called him officially a suspect, have they yet? Because I haven't.
No.
Not that I have. But to hear that in an official email.
Timeout. Yeah, a criminal investigation is an FBI-led criminal investigation.
Or that could be related.
And listen,
to Gabby.
We could be getting way too much here into terminology and semantics and the actual words that were sent out here, or this is something new. And I'd like to ask our team here at WFLA to confirm with this. And but again, I'll just read it out here for you. What does this mean to you, our audience? Use hashtag HeyJB, hashtag HeyJosh here. This is an FBI-led criminal investigation, and Northport Police are assisting our federal partner in any way we can to bring this investigation to a close. This is a missing persons case.
Or is it? Because now they that's what I take from that.
This is everything that we've been told.
To him. Let's respond. Have somebody respond to him and get clarification on if that is related. Because he's talking about the search.
Muting our microphones here for a second. All right, mic's back up. Curious. And we're going to ask about whether or not there's any different circumstances surrounding this case regarding this now being called by Josh Taylor, Northport Police, a FBI-led criminal investigation rather than a search in a missing persons case. Again, is that just a label? Is that just labeling here, or is there
the fact that it's across state lines, as they brought up, makes the FBI obviously involved and leading the investigation?
It's just the first time that I was just like you, Josh. I was just kind of
taken aback by
it, just because this is at this time, it's everything that we have been told that we can report to you is that this is a missing persons case. So now all of a sudden to see a note being sent our way that it's an FBI-led criminal investigation, it's just different from what we've been hearing over the last several days. And our audience has a right to know what has been sent out from the public information officer from the former lead investigative agency on this search.
The way I see it, obviously a body was found, and you can look at that as saying it was criminal as far as they could conclude eventually, and that could be the criminal investigation they're talking about. But this email is related to the search for Brian Laundrie.
Yeah.
And so they say it's a criminal investigation.
Let's in that email from Josh Taylor, he sent out YouTube video. YouTube video that we have permission to use here. And we're going to play back this YouTube video. This is video of today now. Video of today. We're going to play this back for our audience here on YouTube. So you guys can watch it. It's 2.5 minutes, and we'll kind of watch it here together. We'll kind of listen in here. Maybe we'll comment, maybe we won't here, but we'll watch this. We'll process this new video that has been sent out by Northport Police, and then the commentary and hashtag HJB, hashtag Hey Josh comments will continue here in a moment. But let's bring up now this is from YouTube here, and let's play this out for our audience watching at home. Again, from Northport Police on YouTube.
We take this Woodfield. You're going to see the trail once you get there. But this is going to intertwine.
One can go straight, one can go left, one can go so get you out. So two vehicles stay together each.
Joe, what are we out here doing?
We're out here searching for Brian Landry. We have multiple law enforcement partners assisting us in the search. The contingent that they've sent us to assist with is ATVs, UTVs. We have multiple drone operators that have been sent out in numerous teams. So we'll mix the resources and deploy them out so that if they encounter flooded areas or terrain that they can't access with these wheeled vehicles, we'll deploy our drones directly out into the wooded areas. We also have partners with the Lee County Sheriff's Office with drones that operate at a higher altitude that has more advanced technology to zoom in and to see areas that are difficult to access on foot or wheeled vehicles as well.
What's the terrain like?
Terrain's very difficult. Essentially 75% of it's underwater, and other areas that are dry we're trying to clear. So we're expecting to get wet by the end of the day and check the entire area for Brian Landry.
All right, so that's via YouTube here. We're going to play that back here soon here for you folks here, everybody on WFLA Now, as we continue here, folks, to monitor the search efforts. This is from earlier on today. We're going to play back some more of that video there in just a moment. But some of the things we learned there, 75%, Josh, 75%, we'll bring Josh in, 75% of the search area is underwater. Underwater. Do you believe that? I mean, it's a job. You're bringing up your mic here. That's clearly a really, really difficult terrain to be navigating through here.
Just to point to, we when we left you on the video that we were talking about this indication of FBI-led criminal investigation. We have an email from 8 this morning. Josh Taylor put it out and said the same thing. So this is something they've been using all day today. So the search for Brian Landry is happening right now, and that's essentially how they're tagging this as a criminal investigation.
And
per the email.
Right, per the email, which, again, different from a missing persons case. We're going to take some more of your hashtag HeyJB, hashtag HeyJosh comments here for those of you who've been with us here for many, many hours. I have to, you're probably sick of hearing me say it, everybody, but I have to because we're constantly engaging a new digital audience here for people finding us on YouTube and wondering how it works. You can use any of the hashtags you see here on your screen. We have 2 on the yellow stripes right now, hashtag HeyJB, hashtag HeyJosh. If you do that, we can animate your comment on screen. If you do not do that, we will just kind of let your comment go idly on by here. So we'll continue to, of course, monitor the social media comment sections here, and we would like to again hear from you again using one of those hashtags. We've had some. Hey, one more time, shout out to Starship Dude, for great commentary there, and we'll continue to play back some of that video here from what I'm loading up right now is that video here from Northport Police. And a lot of multitasking is part of my job here, folks. Being able to bring in what we just, and I want to make sure I have this right. There it is. Okay, so this is the search video from Northport Police in the center of your screen. And let's just kind of, Josh, let's look at this here. Okay, so we can see here, Cruz, we'll just kind of talk about what we see. We can see Cruz. It looks like they have, they're going over the plan, reading through some papers, talking about the area here, how they're going to cover it, how they're going to disperse here. You can see there with radios, there's some of the ATVs, some of the vehicles that they're going to be using to and have been using over the last several hours to comb through this area here. And we see later on in this video, Josh, some of the technology that is being used here. And we also look at there's the terrain. Look at that. Mm-hmm. Looks different from the air than it does on the ground.
You just have to visualize any change in the landscape.
Yeah, look at this. Going off the trail here, off the 80 miles of trail that are here in this area. Look at all the brush. I mean, it's not just as simple as putting left foot in front of right foot here. You're dealing with heavy brush.
I'm not familiar with this place. Is this somewhere where people
drones
go to walk and hang out, or is this more of
80 miles of trails?
Okay, so the trail, that one looks like a manicured trail there. So at least you could actually hike and walk through there.
The potential superheroes of this story, again, talking about the canines and the bloodhounds that are being used here and utilized here. And there's the drone technology that we're talking about here.
Nice setup.
But you know what, though? Even with the drone video, it's so hard to see through some of that brush. Here's some of that sound. Let's see if we can just listen in here one more time.
Partners assisting us in the search. The contingent that they've sent us to assist with is ATVs, UTVs. We have multiple drone operators that have been sent out in numerous teams. So we'll mix the resources and deploy them out so that if they encounter flooded areas or terrain that they can't access with these wheeled vehicles, we'll deploy our drones directly out into the wooded areas. We also have partners with the Lee County Sheriff's Office with drones that operate at a higher altitude that has more advanced technology to zoom in and to see areas that are difficult to access on foot or wheeled vehicles as well.
What's the terrain like?
Terrain's very difficult. Essentially, 75% of it's underwater, and 75%. Other areas that are dry, we're trying to clear. So we're expecting to get wet by the end of the day and check the entire area for Brian Landry.
And that's from, again, Northport Police on YouTube. You can watch that video, of course, yourself if you'd like to. It's publicly available to us on YouTube here. And one more time, an enormous shout out to the hardworking men and women of these search crews and these search teams here, and the hardworking men and women of law enforcement that are trying to, with the entire weight of the world here, trying to produce results on this story. They are combing through nasty terrain. Really, again, with the amount of rainfall this area has seen, it's not normally, as we understand it, this looking like this. I mean, of course, there's a lot of water in this area, but all the rainfall over the last several days hasn't helped. Rainfall that Josh knows about from being at the house yesterday and being in this area yesterday. So just a big shout out to law enforcement. I want to let you guys know, for Florida law enforcement, we are hoping and praying and behind you guys, and hope that we have some news here to report here as far as results here with these ongoing search efforts, Josh.
Yeah, and I'm thinking about that TFR they called earlier today. It sounds like they have multiple drones that they're going to use from law enforcement's perspective. So obviously they don't want anybody in the airspace from that 400 feet down, and they even have drones that can probably go higher. So that's interesting to hear that. It's just not one or two; they probably have a bunch. And look at how helpful those can be. They can see anything.
That's a huge screen.
I want to know if they must be using infrared, especially at night.
We've been talking about infrared, and our commenters have been commenting back with FLIR technology.
Yeah,
that we need to get that question answered, because that's so many people have been asking about heat heat-based
Sensing,
infrared
yeah.
heat
Yeah.
sensing technology. And
You can see animals, you can see pretty much anything that's alive down there, especially when you know, at night when you can take away the heat element of the day, and that's what's generating the most heat. So if a human is out there, you should be able to spot him or her.
Josh, you mentioned another name earlier, another name that will live on in infamy as far as the news, and especially here in Florida. I want to have you can address this comment here that just came in from Nikki Callis. Hashtag Hey Josh, totally agree with the Casey Anthony.
It's almost
vibes.
creepy how similar these scenarios are. I mean, not in investigative state, but just in terms of, you know, the house and the parents and the media involvement and just how big the case got nationwide. There's a lot of talk about why this case has gotten so big and why so many people are involved and interested in it. And that's, you know, initially how the Casey Anthony case grew to be so big. Obviously it involved a toddler, and people are a lot more tied to a situation like that, and that's why it skyrocketed around the world and people were so fascinated by it. But when you talk about, like Nikki mentions, the vibes, to see the amount of media outside that home of George and Cindy, Casey Anthony's parents at the time, I mean, it was weeks and weeks on end where the media, we were camped out there. And I remember being outside of the courthouse. We covered that case extensively all day outside of the courthouse. Matter of fact, at the time we had a box truck converted into a studio, and it had AC in it. We could stay out. And when the monsoon rains came through, we were able to keep going live and just analyzing every bit of the information that went, you know, along in court. So a case like this gets each piece of the puzzle covered from the media, the initial story, the search, which is happening right now. Ultimately, we'd like to find out who's responsible for the crime, when that happens, or if that happens, and then it moves on to the judicial side and the legal side of everything. So it's a full coverage all from start to finish. And there's a lot of similarities, Nikki, with the Casey Anthony case, no doubt.
Josh Benson, JB Buno here with you live. I have to hop in here for a moment and talk about something as far as our coverage here at WFLA. We have been alerted to, and we know that this comes to the territory as far as the job that we do here when we broadcast on digital platforms. We have been alerted to some of the commentaries, particularly in the YouTube comment section. And a lot of folks that are watching here on YouTube, and we do have, of course, if you've heard of the term trolls, there, of course, have been trolling comments here in the YouTube comment section. Comment moderation on YouTube is extremely difficult. It is hard, of course, for us to moderate comments on YouTube. We know that there are some really despicable comments going on right now on YouTube. It's extremely difficult to police something that is as rapidly evolving as the news story that we are following here. I want to let you know here, folks, first and foremost, to everybody on YouTube that is commenting things that are despicable. You're getting in the way of others that are trying to meaningfully, communicate to us with purpose and with meaning and with good intentions. And also to our YouTube commenters, for people watching on YouTube, first and foremost, you don't have to watch with comments on, scrolling on your screen. You can turn your comments off. And also too, if you want a different experience, there are other places that we're live. You don't have to watch on YouTube. You can watch on Facebook. You can watch on Twitter. You can watch on WFLA.com and the WFLA app. All of these places, we are currently live here simultaneously. So we know our people have been calling even our station and saying that they are extremely frustrated with some of the commentary on YouTube specifically. And I know that there are a lot of good and well-intentioned viewers joining us on YouTube here, but we also are aware that of some of the quite the opposite here. So again, if you'd like to watch without any comments whatsoever, just our live feed here, you can use WFLA.com. You can watch on WFLA.com, the WFLA app, and then hop on Twitter and use hashtag HeyJB and hashtag HeyJosh there, and we can animate your comments via Twitter as well. So just a quick reminder here, folks, that we are not just live on YouTube, and we are completely 100% aware of some of the commentary that is currently going on that particular social media platform. I wanted to bring up too,
I was asking about this Carlton Reserve and if you hike it or who goes there, and I've never been, so I just and Jim Hockett actually sent me this over. I was just going to read it. Pretty interesting background. It was established in 1984. It covers more than 25,000 acres east of the populated areas of the county in the lowlands of the Myakka River Basin. But now there's a 1.9 mile hike, and that covers one tiny corner of the landscape. says slipping through the oak hammocks and pine flatwoods, this loop around the wet prairie is the easiest trail to tackle and a gateway for extended exploration. So there is a reserved area, but it's obviously a blink of what the size is of this preserve. But interesting that, I'm assuming that's probably where they started. Got the easy search out of the way, and now they're expanding their search into this 25,000 acres. That's going to be quite a job.
A massive job.
Yeah.
Again, JB Buno, Josh Benson here with you live. Let's get to some more of your hashtag Hey JB, hashtag Hey Josh comments here. And Abby Pearson, hashtag Hey JB, could Brian get charged or his parents get charged if they get caught that they lied about his whereabouts? As I understand it, yeah, you can absolutely be charged if you
knowingly hide someone or knowingly don't offer up information that interferes with an investigation.
And there's zero evidence of this at this time. There's been a lot of speculation as to, because we've talked about, a parent's instincts, Josh, and a parent's instincts, and you being a father, you would do anything to protect your child.
Right.
And you would imagine that, of course, the Laundrie family wanting to do everything that they can to do best by Brian and help Brian. But as a reminder here, folks, there is no evidence here at this time, keeping the train on the tracks, no evidence at this time that the parents have lied or been deceitful or hid anything. We just don't know that at this time. It's easy to jump from A to B in that way, but we don't know until we know. Twitter, back to Twitter. And again, let's get to some more Twitter comments here. From Beth on Twitter, hashtag Hey JB, hashtag Hey Josh, watching from England.
Wow.
Hello there across the pond. How big is the reserve, and will any dogs be let out to search for the scent? I think you're going to see it playing back here in the looped content in the center of your screen here momentarily, but dogs part of the search. Josh, you have any dogs, Josh?
Two. They're not going to be very good at searching, though. They're good at sleeping. They're on my bed sleeping right now.
These are the best of the best as far as the dogs that are being used here in the search. Canines and bloodhounds that are, of course, trained for this purpose, to track down individuals based on scent. And you would imagine that with a lot being taken into evidence yesterday in the search warrant, there's the dogs. Put away the comment there. Put it away. Hopefully in time you can see there's dogs sniffing the ground. They're real life four-legged superheroes here, folks.
And you want to know the size: 25,000 acres east of the populated areas of the county, Beth. So it's big. It's
huge. It's enormous. And dogs, drones, these are just enormous key pieces of the puzzle here as far as trying to track down where Brian Laundrie might be here at Carlton Reserve here. Go back to YouTube. I noted that there were good content comments coming in on YouTube. Hashtag Hey Josh, hashtag Hey JB. Is it possible that the noise from the helicopters are not letting them listen for any movement? Oh, wow.
I don't think they're specifically listening for anything. I think they're just more of a visual, and maybe yelling from the ground, but I don't think anybody's going to respond. So I think it's a search for.
I understand. So I understand. So to paint a picture here to what Vivian is talking about, Vivian is thinking about the folks that are on foot here and on trails. And yes, you can hear somebody without seeing them, because it might be easier to hear them rather than see them based on how wooded of an area and how dense of an area this is. That's an excellent question. And I haven't thought about it from that perspective. And I would imagine that the helicopters, yes, they are emitting sound, but hopefully the helicopters aren't emitting enough of a sound and aren't low enough of an altitude to interfere with the audio portion of this.
And we don't know if there's any more helicopters up there outside of the Fish and Wildlife helicopter that Jim had told us about at this point. So,
from Amanda Scripp on YouTube, hashtag Hey Josh, hashtag Hey JB, is the case being handled federally or by the state of Wyoming? So we have a multi-agency effort here. This is a federal case. In fact, if I can read this note here that we just got in from Josh Taylor, he calls it a FBI-led criminal investigation. That's a federal criminal investigation here, according to Josh. And so it is being handled federally. The FBI Denver, as I understand it, the FBI Denver is coordinating these efforts down here on the ground. That's what I was told. That could be different, or it could be in collaboration with FBI Tampa. And the state of Wyoming, they are, of course, dealing with other components, such as the autopsy that is being conducted today, and the medical examiner's office there in Grand Teton County. So there's a lot of agencies involved here, and communication, Josh, between these agencies is completely key. Staying in lockstep with one another.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, Northport Police was in charge of this initially back here at home, and now they were just assisting the FBI, as are several other agencies. I think Fish and Wildlife. There was several other sheriff's offices. So there are a lot of people involved in this specific search now for Brian Laundrie in this Carlton Reserve. But yeah, it's several pieces across the whole country that are playing pieces of each of these pieces to the puzzle. So it's a big area to keep all the tabs on, and any new developments. You know, we had Walt Buteau and Ma Society yesterday do a pretty good rundown of some of the key elements in the timeline. So I encourage you to go to WFLA.com to check out those stories from yesterday. Good breakdown of what we had with the search warrants, information, you know, released about how the two were acting. There was a 911 call that somebody called into 911 talking about some abuse that was happening. So all these little nuggets that are coming together now are trying to start painting a picture as to what happened leading up to the disappearance of both of these individuals.
Again, the latest on WFLA.com, the WFLA app. We'll take one more here from YouTube and then move on to our other commenters elsewhere on social media. From Kail Embry on YouTube, hashtag HeyJB, hashtag HeyJosh. Is it possible the autopsy can confirm the ID of the body today? I think so. Still at this time, the latest that we have from the FBI, Josh, is that this is a body matching the description of Gabby Petito. But of course, the Northport police reported that Gabby was found deceased. The entire world, including Gabby's family, is under the belief that the remains there, of course, are Gabby's. That, you know, the autopsy being performed today. And I would imagine that they can officially confirm that identification relatively quickly upon examination, of the body. And that could be information that we find out here today. But I know that our commenters here really want to know about that autopsy and what the cause of death is going to end up being, and whether or not we're going to get those preliminary results here today or this week, or when those preliminary autopsy results are going to come in. Because that will reveal, again, preliminary autopsy results could reveal some into the cause of death.
This is interesting. This is just coming in. A man by the name of Sam Bass says a man fitting Brian's description was seen on his trail camera set up in the wilderness in Baker, Florida, early Monday morning, and has alerted the authorities.
Where's that coming from?
This is TMZ, but I get breaking alerts from all sorts of, but I mean, it's very interesting. These are the kind of things that are going to start popping up, and, you know, take this with a grain of salt. Nothing's been confirmed by police yet, but this article says that he's alerted authorities and they are going to review it or have already reviewed the image.
Baker, Florida. All right. Grain of
Baker,
salt.
Florida?
Grain of salt.
Yes.
Again, very, very, very much.
I didn't want to bring it up, but it is interesting because they do have a picture of a man that looks like him. It's just very creepy and interesting. But those are the kind of things that, you know, Mobile, Alabama, perfect example. Yep. There's apparent sightings of him yesterday or the day before. And it turned out to, I believe, be a homeless man they found dead behind a building. So these are things that are going to pop up all the time because so many people are interested and involved in this case and trying to help solve the crime, even though some of this stuff may not be helpful, some of it may be. So again, you have to take it with a grain of salt. Let's
remind our audience here that this is not an uncommon description for an adult male. Mm-hmm. Shaved head, facial hair, and one of our brilliant commenters earlier noted that he could be wearing a mask, sunglasses, and a cap, and you would never know that it's somebody that matches the description of Brian Laundrie. That there are a lot of people that it's not the most uncommon description for a male of his age. So there's going to be potential sightings. There's going to be. It's not as if he has some obvious identifying characteristic that makes him really easy to spot. So take it with a grain of salt. But Baker, Florida.
Where is that?
Northeast of Pensacola. Midway, it's inland.
Oh, I mean, wouldn't that throw a wrench in the plans? I mean,
Okaloosa County.
You know what I mean?
My former coverage area.
Really?
Yeah, when I was at WKRG in Mobile, we covered Okaloosa County. Baker is in unincorporated Okaloosa County, about approximately 10 miles away from Crestview, northeast of Pensacola. Anyone who's ever been to one of the most beautiful, I can't get in trouble here.
Oh, yeah, look at you bragging over there.
Yeah, careful. One of the most beautiful beaches you've ever been to is Destin, Florida. Destin is just south about an hour south on the coast there from Baker, Florida, and that is not too far away from Mobile. But again,
that's interesting.
Grain of salt here, and we don't know. Josh, did that potential possible maybe sighting there that's being reported? Did they say what time that picture was snapped, or when that?
Let me look.
Yeah, let's see if we can find that out, because again, there have been rumored potential possible sightings on the Gulf Coast in Alabama, in Mobile County. So
early Monday morning. That was the picture, the time of the picture.
Early
on a trail
Monday
camera.
morning.
You know, those trail cameras are awesome these days. I mean, you can set them. Back in the day, you had to set it for a little bit to, go back and get the card, and batteries were an issue. But some of these trail cameras you can put out in the woods now. Hunters would know this. If you're a hunter out there, you know how great the technology's become. We have a cabin up in northern Minnesota, and we can put a trail camera up there, and it lasts for forever. But it's very cool to be able to have that technology even out in the middle of Baker, Florida. But what's strange is they got this picture of this person, and it's very interesting.
For the true crime aficionados that are out there, I covered the Billy Boyette story, and if you remember Billy Boyette, that was a man who was the subject of a massive manhunt across in that same area of southern Alabama, and you might remember on the Florida Panhandle there, including in, as I understand it, if I remember correctly, Okaloosa County. And Billy Boyette was a wanted man, and he was on the run, very much on the run. Not like not like Brian Laundrie, where he's a missing persons case and we don't know the circumstances surrounding. No, this was a man who was on the run and had been killing multiple people in that area, and he was spotted on a trail cam.
Wow.
And they were able to.
You never expect it. You never know who they are.
You never know. And it was a random trail cam in the woods where Billy Boyette, look it up, everybody. Billy Boyette trail cam image. I covered that story extensively at my last stop at WKRG in Mobile, Alabama. I remember it very vividly. And Billy Boyette was spotted wandering the woods, and it was a deer cam, one of those cameras that you have set up to scout deer and to hunt buck. And he was the motion detection went off on that trail cam, and the gentleman looked at his video and of the picture, thinking he was going to see a deer, and he sees a man and a woman, and it was the most in that area of the country, it was the most published face at the time. Billy Boyette, who was wanted. Let me tell you, he was wanted because he was murdering. He was on a murder spree. And he eventually was tracked down, and they were able to get more of an idea as to where he was and where he was heading based on that trail cam. So there is precedence there.
Yeah, and a search like this, of this magnitude, with somebody missing in a reserve of this size, it really, if someone were to go in and not come out, let's say die in this reserve, I mean, your only option to being found usually is a hiker, maybe an aerial viewpoint like this, or generally a lot of times in missing person cases who are found later and the remains are found, those are from hunters who go in and they happen to come across a body, and that's always been interesting and fascinating. But it makes sense. I mean, they're the ones who are going to go out to the remote parts of places like this, at least where I'm from back in Minnesota, that was the case. Here it's a little harder to trudge through a reserve, and I don't know if any hunters do that. But yeah, we
don't have the rights to this image. I'm looking at the same image that you're looking at now.
Right.
I don't have the rights to show it yet. Of course, it's got to clear through several hurdles here. Have you looked at it? You've looked at it?
Yeah, I looked at it.
What do you think?
I mean,
I don't think there's a resemblance.
Oh, you don't? I gotta look at it again.
I'm gonna zoom in. That actually looks. I won't say it on air, but that actually looks to me more like somebody that works at our station. Then
hope he's not up there.
Then no, because he's right over there. He's sitting about 20 feet away from me. I see what you're saying. But that doesn't look. Yeah, I've been looking at every image of Brian Laundrie, as you have and as the world has. I don't see the resemblance.
Yeah. We don't want to go too far down that road.
Don't. But again, that's news.
But I mean, that's what keeps a case like this interesting. Things that keep popping up every hour to say this person was spotted, or this image was taken, or this. But that's what helps solve crimes in this day and age. The ability for everybody to just, to get out. I mean, first of all, when you were looking at, I was on Reddit the other day.
I've been on Reddit
yeah,
as well.
And when they were looking at the Yellowstone archival footage.
Yep.
And they were all of these Redditors were going through frame by frame by frame on all of the archived Yellowstone video to see if they could spot the van.
Yep.
I mean, you know how much time that would take for a news agency? But here you have an army of people that could come out and just do that on their free time. And if somebody spots it, go to the time frame, go to the mark of 45 minutes, 20 seconds, and there it is. And all of a sudden you have a piece of information we didn't have before. So I think it can be very helpful.
I think, folks, we're going to be going actively here till 2 o'clock Eastern here live on WFLA Now. The live stream won't end at 2 o'clock. At least, in some places we'll stay live. Other places, depending on our social media platforms and, of course, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, they function differently in how we engage with our audiences. So we're going to go live till 2 o'clock Eastern time. And if there's any new developments, of course, we'll stay here with you live. We're going to try to do a focused #HeyJB, #HeyJosh Q&A here and talk about some of the questions that are coming in here. And let's get to Kimberly L. Gomes, #HeyJB, #HeyJosh on YouTube. What is the protocol if they find him? Appreciate you guys joining from the Netherlands, just another country here that you can add to the map of viewers around the globe that are watching here on WFLA Now and people that want information on this story as to where Brian Laundrie is. I will tell you this. Okay, listen, this new piece of information that just came in changes things a little bit with what I'm about to say, but they say this is an FBI-led criminal investigation. Northport Police are assisting. But when I asked Northport Police spokesperson Josh Taylor on Friday night in that interview that was live on WFLA Now, I asked, what happens if you find Brian? The missing persons case, right? So if you find Brian, what happens? Well, you haven't been charged with a crime. Still, even despite what we got in here moments ago in this note.
What did he say?
He hasn't been charged. Well, the note is that this is an FBI-led criminal investigation. And what did he say? What did Josh say? Josh said he's a missing person and we'll just pick him up and take him home.
Yeah, but here's where I hear varying opinions on this from attorneys and whatnot.
Friday night.
You take a look at the fact that, and I said this earlier, you take a look at the fact that he drove home alone. He wouldn't respond to any requests of being talked to. He didn't say a word, by his attorney's recommendation. And then he either flees or leaves, depending on how they want to categorize it. Every time something like this happens, I think that builds a stronger case of probable cause, not that they have a body. And if they do identify that as Gabby and they have a body, the more things that add up, and I'm not an attorney, but at some point you can get enough information to prove probable cause to where you can make an arrest. So I think that's where the line they have to follow is once they have all these things line up, you have a body, now you have enough that you can go and arrest the person. And I think that's where they're getting to in this investigation at this point.
Emma Gray.
And if you're an attorney out there, please disagree with me because I'm not. And but as far as what I've been hearing and learning about this case, a lot of attorneys agree that's the process.
Let's do a 60-second recap for our commenters like Emma Gray, #HeyJB. Can you do a recap of what you've been talking about today? I just got here. Search efforts continue right here in the center of your screen at Carlton Reserve near Venice, Florida, where they have many, many teams out there looking for Brian Laundrie. In the meantime, an autopsy is being performed in Wyoming today, and that autopsy should provide us at some point with hopefully preliminary autopsy results where we can share with you what the preliminary cause of death is, again, from the medical examiner's office there in Northwest Wyoming. Additionally, here, we're talking about the very difficult terrain, the expansive, vast area. We're talking about dense Florida wilderness here that is the search area here. So nothing has been found as of 1 o'clock. The one note that, again, Josh and I have been commenting on that we thought was a bit curious is that they've been, in every release that we've been receiving, they've been calling it a missing persons case pertaining to Brian Laundrie. But now they say, and I'll read this here again as follows from Josh Taylor of City of Northport, Florida, communications manager and PIO. He says, quote unquote, this is an FBI-led criminal investigation, and Northport Police are assisting our federal partner in any way we can to bring this investigation to a close. So that's kind of where we are right now here, Emma. Let's get to Twitter from Anna on Twitter. #HeyJB, #HeyJosh. I heard that they were able to acquire some things from Gabby's and Brian's phones. Is this the actual device or records, etc.? We know that that they do not have Gabby's phone. But you can obtain information cellular device with you on hand. And we understand that information, of course, has been received, such as that Gabby's phone was off as of September 1st, I believe. And you can check the timeline on WFLA.com and the WFLA app, the accurate, up-to-date timeline here. It's all available to you there on our website and our Gabby Petito, Brian Laundrie Hub on WFLA.com. But yeah, that there was a period of 15 days where they could confirm that Gabby's phone was completely off. Let's see.
Hey,
here.
I got a little update
Sure.
on the TMZ thing we were talking about. Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office now has the story, and they've actually searched the area. You can go to the Facebook page of Okaloosa Sheriff.
Digital content producer Heather Monahan is now sharing. We can now share this image, as I understand it. And
yeah,
Heather,
and they have a different angle too, or a bigger image of it. But you can put it at least up on the screen.
Well, no, I don't think I can.
From Facebook?
It's a shared image from Sam Bass, and the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office is sharing out this image. I need to verify with our team members here at WFLA as to whether or not we have the authority and the permission to share this image on our platform. We know it's everywhere on Twitter, but we have to do right by the originator of this content. So Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office on Facebook has shared it out, and I'll read the post here as follows from Okaloosa County Sheriff's update. The OCSO did its due diligence in response to this report and is wrapping up an extensive search that took place in this area to include nearby farmlands. No one and nothing of note was located. The individual referenced in the post below has no known ties to our area. No known ties to our area.
Yeah, because they searched locally to see if it could be anybody that lives around there.
I looked at it. I don't see a resemblance with Brian Laundrie.
I kind of do.
You do?
A little.
All right.
A little bit.
Well, he's a guy with a.
But it's 6 a.m. on a trail cam. I mean, it could be a little. Well, and this guy, first of all, does Brian have a beard?
Well, Brian, and shout out to Reddit, because somebody on Reddit shared the 4 looks of Brian Laundrie.
Of course they did.
Because no, but they did. But it's a great point, because you have to be on the lookout for a man that matches.
But look at this. Yeah, I'm showing over here. I'm showing you side by side.
Oh, hold on.
See, now we're digging a hole for ourselves.
Still don't see it. Still don't see it.
Well, anyway, now news networks are picking it up, and now it's a possible sighting,
because
and now they're investigating it.
And maybe it's because everyone is on the edge of their seats wanting to know where Brian Laundrie is. Everyone's antsy. Everyone wants this guy to be found, and anything that looks somewhat like Brian Laundrie captured on a trail cam or a fuzzy, blurry, standard definition image is going to be in with night vision is going to get blown up on the internet.
Right.
That's how much everyone is percolating
but
here.
First of
on
all,
this
for a
story.
guy to be with a backpack at 6 a.m. on a trail cam is a bit suspicious.
Yep.
I don't care who you are.
Yeah.
Baker, Florida. I mean,
what are you doing out there?
I don't do that for fun. Do you?
I don't wander the woods at night. In case you were wondering, that's not a hobby of mine, Josh. I would like to think that you know me better than that. I do not
private land. It's not a good idea.
I don't wander the area of Tampa, Florida, in the middle of the night. Though I did go in a great
good news story, though.
Off topic, but I actually did go on a great walk with my wife last night, and had a great time just kind of walking out and about.
I know,
but
it wasn't on my trail cam.
You careful now, careful. It wasn't at 6 a.m. All right, and it wasn't in Baker, Florida, or in Okaloosa County. Let's get to some more of the comments that are coming in here. Hey, Millie, thanks a lot for the comment. #KJB, glad your voice sounds better, and thanks so much for the excellent job you're doing. Hey, I've gotten a lot of comments like this. Big thanks. Yeah, the voice getting better.
Did you lose your voice?
I did over the weekend because the Friday night stream was long, and
you talk a lot.
I talk a lot. We don't do commercials here,
right?
Josh is on the anchor desk on WFLA News Channel 8, and he gets the commercial breaks.
I get to take a break.
A lot.
Rest the voice.
We're coming up on a break in about 10 minutes here, folks. Marcy Daniel Nyhouse, #KJB, #KJosh. Do we know if Brian has his phone or if his parents or the FBI have it at this point? I haven't heard anything about Brian's.
We don't know
about Brian's phone, but that's another key piece, right? Another key piece in the story.
Huge piece, because that contains a ton of information that I'm sure the authorities want to look into.
Maisie Tenney, hashtag AJB. It is insane. The video states that they intend to search the entire area. Does that mean the 25,000 miles of the reserve?
Well,
oh my goodness.
Yeah, and I don't know how many like curated trails there are. There's a 1.9 mile hike that's in the corner of the landscape. Obviously, they probably started with that, but 25,000 acres is the entire landmass of that part, the Carlton Reserve. So you got to assume only a certain amount of that has trails that go through it and wind through there. Now it depends on how intensive a search they do. You know, they're going to cover all the trails with the ATVs and the UTVs to get through it. They're going to try to cover a lot of it by drone and by helicopter. But how much do they go on?
Hold on, Josh. We have a breaking development just in.
Okay.
Just into WFLA now, engaging new digital audiences here. New information just into our newsroom here.
On WFLA now, here's JB Buno.
All right, so we just got informed here moments ago, a tweet from Governor Ron DeSantis that just came out here moments ago, that at the request of Northport Police, FWC law enforcement has been assisting in the search for Brian Laundrie. I've directed all state agencies under my purview to continue to assist federal and local law enforcement as they continue to search. We need justice for Gabby. Petito ends the tweet from Florida Governor Ron DeSantis here moments ago. All authorities now are on the table, as we understand it, with this now new direction here from the governor of Florida. Again, I've directed all state agencies under my purview to continue to assist federal and local law enforcement as they continue to search. We need justice for Gabby. Petito is the tweet here moments ago from Florida Governor Ron DeSantis.
That's interesting, because what we were just talking about is how can they search this 25,000 acres? Well, when you have the power of the entire state and all these agencies and have representatives from as many as possible, you're going to be able to do that in a lot quicker amount of time.
So now
faster. So this is going to be, I think this is a good development, because now all of a sudden, like in a national emergency or in a state emergency, when they get all these resources unlocked to come help a city like Tampa or Orlando or wherever there's a big problem with weather or whatnot. I mean, I haven't seen this in a while, to where the governor will put out a call to pull in representatives from other agencies. You know what I mean? It's usually for if they need help after a hurricane or whatnot, but this is directed to a criminal investigation now.
An FBI-led criminal investigation, according to Josh Taylor with the city of Northport, Florida. So Governor DeSantis calling in the troops here, so to speak, and getting now state agencies involved here. We've been talking about the FBI. We've been talking about Northport Police, federal and local authorities involved. Now we have federal, local, and state authorities involved here. And it's going to be interesting to see if that helps in any way, Josh, if that gets us any closer to a resolution here.
Yep. So that tweet just coming out about 20 minutes ago from the governor. I'll read that for you again. At the request of Northport Police now, my FWC law enforcement has been assisting in the search of Brian Laundrie. I've directed all state agencies under my purview to continue to assist federal and local law enforcement as they continue to search. We need justice for Gabby Petito. So the governor now stepping into this investigation and trying to drive as many representatives from state agencies as he can to help in this search. And as we've watched this Carlton Reserve, that's where they're focusing all their energy. So they must have some pretty good evidence that he's there or he's hiding there. And now it's just a matter of finding him.
Yeah, let's make this clear here too for our audience here as we cue in some, just trying to bring in the latest video and anything that we can show here with you, everybody on WFLA now, as far as the video that again is coming in right now from Venice, Florida, the area of Venice, Florida here, as far as the search for Brian Laundrie at Carlton Reserve here. This could be reinforcements in that. What might happen now is if this is an extended search effort and federal and local authorities are exhausted from 12 on, 12 off, let's just say if that's the case, as far as the hour-long shifts that they're on, this could be the more people that you have assisting as far as bodies on the ground, the better. Yeah. The more you can rotate crews in and out, and maybe this becomes a 24/7 search. Maybe the search now continues overnight.
And think about it. If you have enough representatives and resources, you could do 4 hours on, 4 hours off, whatever. I mean, you could get in shifts to where the machines never stop, the drones never stop flying, and you can cover that amount of ground when you have the resources available. But yeah, for now, it's difficult. you have just a few agencies and the FBI leading this. They're going to get worn out. They're going to get beat up. And Mother Nature's always tougher than man and woman. So to get the help they need is going to be a big help in this investigation.
From Sammy on Twitter, #KJB, #Josh. Is camping even possible at Carlton Reserve? How long do you think the reserve search will go on for? Tweeting from London in the United Kingdom. And I wouldn't want to camp here. Let me just make that I wouldn't. This isn't my number one camping destination.
I don't know enough about it. I've never been there.
Nor do I.
So I mean, there's a, like I said, a 1.9 mile hike, and according to this,
I don't like the idea of being in a tent in the middle of the night and knowing that an alligator can come out of nowhere and chomp on my foot. I just, that doesn't sound like a fun experience under the starlight for me. You're
not true Florida then, JB.
Maybe I'm not. I'm not.
No, but they do say these are Florida hikes, and they say that it's actually a very pleasant hiking destination, and maintained by a dedicated group of volunteers, the Friends of Carlton Reserve. So there's a group that actually goes up to take care of this reserve and keep it clean. I'm not sure if you're out there and have been in this reserve. Tell us if you can camp there or not. I think that's what we need to know first. But obviously, if there's a reserved area for camping, they've checked that already.
Jen Parsons from Facebook, #KJB, asking us, is this now a criminal investigation? Josh, can we say this is an FBI-led criminal investigation? We can.
Yeah, authorities are saying it.
It's from the FBI. It's or from Josh Taylor, according to him. FBI-led criminal investigation, no longer a missing persons case, or maybe it's a missing persons case. Now, here's what I'm getting into. This might sound silly, and we might be reading too much into this, but if it's a criminal investigation, are they investigating whether or not a crime has occurred, or are they doing an investigation into the crime that has occurred?
That's what we were discussing earlier. Because if they're clearly a crime, well, I mean, they got to figure out matter of death on the person. They have to confirm who the person is. So until they have those details buttoned up, I don't think they can call it a criminal investigation. I could be wrong, but that would logically make sense until they know the facts of what happened with the body that was discovered. And according to the title of these emails, this is the search for Brian Laundrie. This is an FBI-led criminal investigation, and Northport Police are assisting our federal partner in any way we can to bring the investigation to a close. And that's what we have to go off of it. Now, I've asked our people here to reach out to him and ask if this is a manhunt. I mean, can we classify this as a manhunt? Is this now?
There are some stations in New York reporting it as a manhunt. We're not going to just because New York reports it as a manhunt doesn't mean we're going to report it as a manhunt. That could be newspeak, right? So.
But again, there's got to be enough there for probable cause to be able to bring charges in order to say a person like this would be a fugitive or a suspect. So I think we're wading into ground that we are wading into a water that we can't confirm exactly yet how this is going to be classified. But I think we're getting very close. And this search today now with the governor's nod to send in more representatives, law enforcement agencies from the state to come down to this reserve, I think you're going to see more than a few volunteers come down from all over the state to help out in this because they want to. I think a lot of people want to see this end quickly.
As do
and the whole world is watching. Clearly, we got people from England tuning in, which this is great.
This is one of the final comments we're going to take here. Stephanie Conrad, #KJB. When do you think the coroner's report will be released? As Walt Petito reported earlier, it's not uncommon for there to be an autopsy that doesn't come back for several weeks. However, with that said, it is common in cases like this one where if they can release a preliminary cause of death and a preliminary autopsy report, that could come out today, that could come out in the days ahead.
Toxicology could take weeks.
Toxicology usually takes a long time. And that will determine what was in Gabby's system at the time of her death. Again, based on, of course, the body matching her description that is believed to be Gabby Petito. And so it depends on how obvious the cause of death is and how comfortable they are with releasing that information this early on in their medical examination of the remains that were found in Northwest Wyoming.
And I'm just curious to see how that changes the case in itself. Once they confirm, or if they confirm it is her, what changes immediately? Are there charges automatically? Are there Is there a suspect named automatically? Like, I'm anxious to see what transpires the minute they make that identification, if they do, but the minute they do that, how this case will change, if it will change.
Josh, before we let you go, what's coming up tonight on WFLA News Channel 8, and what are you going to be watching for here in the days ahead? Really, days ahead, hours ahead.
Yeah, hours ahead. This is kind of turning into an hour-by-hour scenario, as you're seeing just little mini developments coming out. So at 4 o'clock, we're going to bring you an update on everything that happened, obviously, with the search of the Carlton Reserve. We told you yesterday the laundry residence was searched. I was out there for that during the day. That wrapped up in the evening. So I think they're done with their work there for now, at least. And I think it's just a matter of trying to continue to talk with the parents, trying to find out where Brian Laundrie is. Of course, we're watching to see if there's a positive identification on the body discovered out there in Wyoming. So yeah, just a wrap up of all these events. And then, there's, what time is it? 2 o'clock. There still could be developments before the 4 p.m. show. So encourage you to tune in to News Channel 8 at 4 o'clock. We will be there with all the updates you need to know and put it all together for you.
Of course, you can watch on WFLA.com as well. That's our broadcast, our newscast product. Of course, everybody, WFLA News Channel 8 on your side, your NBC station here in Tampa Bay. Big thank you to Josh. We are going to be stepping away here in just a moment for a brief break. We've been live now for more than 3 hours with several members of our team here. And what we're going to do here is remind our audience here that the very latest is on WFLA.com, the WFLA app. We are monitoring this hour-by-hour situation here that is unfolding here. And again, we are following every lead, every latest development here, whether it's, people have been asking about what's been going on in Alabama, what's been going on in Baker, Florida with the image that was shared out and making the rounds now on social media. We are monitoring all these new developments here, but the big development that I want to pass along here again one more time is that Governor Ron DeSantis has now issued an authority that any state agencies under his purview is going to be available to assist in the search for Brian Laundrie here, again, calling for justice for Gabby Petito. The latest for you right now, if you want to read the latest, it's on WFLA.com, the WFLA app. The latest on Gabby Petito, the latest on Brian Laundrie, the latest on the search efforts, the latest on the autopsy that is being conducted today in Northwest Wyoming. It all lives there. Now, you have my word here that if there's any breaking developments, we're here live for you on WFLA.com, the WFLA app. We're live on WFLA now across our social media platforms, including wherever you're watching from right now. And if there's any developments, we'll be live here with the drop of a hat. We can do so. We are going to stay live on YouTube. We might be staying live on Twitter. I know that we're going to be ending this Facebook live stream again, because all of our social media platforms operate differently as far as how we maintain our live streams for our audience. To YouTube, we will be staying here live with you. To WFLA.com, to WFLA's app, the live player there. We will also be remaining live on YouTube. Of course, you can continue the comments here in the comment section and continue to comment back and forth with your fellow viewers. Please, of course, keep the train on the tracks, as we call it here in our comment section here. We plead with all of our viewers here to try to keep the conversation as objective and as productive and as meaningful as possible here, knowing that the entire world, of course, clearly with some of the comments that we've had here, the entire world is watching this story and a lot of folks tuning in to our live streams here on WFLA Now. Again, you can read the latest here on WFLA.com, the WFLA app, and we'll have more ahead in the hours ahead with every development here on the story here live on WFLA Now.
Hey guys, what's going on? A few of you were asking about the picture he was talking about, so I'm going to grab it real quick. I don't know why they don't have mods. Hang on. Well, let me look. Hello. I'm going to put the link up so we can discuss this. Especially, about the governor getting everyone involved. Why can't the governor of Tennessee get people involved to find Summer? Hang, just give me 1 second to find this picture. We can look at it. Let's see, inbox. Oh. Clarence says, I don't think it's fair to judge at this point. This is about Gabby. Absolutely, it's about Gabby. Domestic violence is real. It is real. So I'm going to share this picture because people were asking about it. And this was actually put in our Discord. If you guys want in the Discord, let us know. So that's the trail cam that people are thinking is Brian. What do y'all think? I know I'm on the fence, guys. I don't know if it's him or not. I've got the link right there. Phoenix. Those people missed the reaction most had to his parents and not helping him. That's because... Oh, exactly. You're exactly right, Phoenix. The chin does look different. It's also, it's from a trail cam. Well, that's what they're blowing up about, saying it's him. I don't know if the governor of Florida can ask for resources for summer in Tennessee. I mean, he could maybe make a call to the governor of Tennessee, but since the TBI says they're handling it, then, oh, the ears. The ears, Missy said the ears. Let me blow it up a little bit. Hang on. Are those the same ears? Who's being biased in here? Sharon says the forehead's different. Could be. But like I said, I mean, it's from a trail cam, but that's what they're blowing up about. And this is on a local news station that JB was talking about. And he wouldn't use the content, which is smart because you have to be very careful about that. Put the link up again. If anybody wants to grab the link. Brooks, what is he wearing in the trail cam? It's on the screen. I don't know what he's wearing, to be quite honest. Tilly says larger man than Brian. He's wider. You're right, just me. It is hard to judge. You don't know. I'm sure it's being analyzed severely right now to see if it really is him. But for some reason, there was a concentrated effort in that area today. And this stuff costs money. This stuff costs money to go search like that. Yeah, you're right, Gray. I mean, it should, warrant a further investigation. At least look into it, Betty says no. I have no idea, but I just think the whole thing, the way it's unfolding in front of our eyes, how fast it's going, the resources being used, this is wild. I want it to be him too. Grab him. I just have a really hard time believing his parents have no idea where he's at. Hey, what guys? What's going on today?
Oh, not much. You know, that one picture that you showed before, it showed his right hand.
Yes.
He's got some kind of leafy design on the edge of his hand, and I was just wondering if you could like blow that up and look at it, and then we could tell for sure if it's him.
Okay, let me see if I can find it.
He's got a leaf. He's got a leaf on his index finger, and on the side of his hand, there's another leafy looking thing.
All right, hang on. I'll find that. Well, we have it in Discord, but I did not save it on here. I mean, I'm going through my folder. I'd have to get into Discord to get it, but no, you're exactly right.
Yeah, you know, it's just trail cams. There's not enough definition.
Exactly.
And it kind of looks like him, but then again, the hairline's not quite right. If it's showing it right in the picture of the guy in the trail cam, you know, and then the jawline's looks a little different. I don't think it's him.
I don't think it is either, because these searches are extremely expensive, extremely. And so they would be looking in that area with a quickness and not concentrating on where they're at. You know what I mean?
Exactly. There's something there why they went back there today. And they're on a different side than they were searching over the weekend. They're on the side next to Venice. So there's some, you know, they don't just like, oh, well, let's go over here and look at Venice and see.
No, they have a reason, because it's super expensive.
Exactly. I mean, that's a lot of resources. And then I was so encouraged with Governor DeSantis coming forward with that.
Oh, me too. That's how you get things done. We're going to find him, because at this point, we don't know exactly what he's done, but we know he's running for some reason.
Right.
So whether it is about Gabby or other people involved,
well, you know, I think he's knowing what's going to come out with the autopsy.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And so he would rather run and hide as long as he can. You know, he's showed the way he operates stuff. You know, he hides behind a mask when you think about his actions towards Gabby. And this is just another way of, you know, hiding out.
What breaks my heart about Gabby is she could be anyone's daughter.
Exactly. I saw my granddaughter in her.
Oh.
You know, it just tears me apart. And the thing of the miscommunication between the 911 call and the responding officers, you know, it's just like heartbreaking, because there should have been no getting back together. They should have been.
No,
you know,
not at all. I know they were out in public and he was striking her.
Right.
This is just my opinion. I think that phone call was clipped down and released by his attorneys.
Probably so.
To me, that's the only thing that makes sense.
It's just so sad.
And it's such a common problem in this country. What goes on in relationships behind closed doors? We don't know people's relationships. We don't know what they're going through.
Exactly.
And it ends so horrifically like this.
Yeah. And you hear so many times about people saying, well, she was just crazy. That's what he said. She was always doing this. But that's just one side of it. That's not the real story.
No.
That's what's being put out. And usually the victim is so afraid to speak up for themselves, and they want to apologize and try to calm things down because they know if that person gets called on the carpet, then they're going to have it worse the next time. It's rampant in this country about domestic violence.
Absolutely. And if we put it side by side, he's telling them, she's got this wrong with her. I've got this wrong with me, but hers is way worse.
Right.
And then she's sitting there uncontrollably crying, apologizing, and taking all the blame. To me, that's it in a nutshell.
Right. And he's already got her so gaslighted, she is doubting her own sanity. I've been there. Okay? I understand what she went through. But thank God I lived.
Well, I'm not going to lie. I've been there too. I'll tell you about it someday. Today's not the day to talk about it. It's not about me. But,
no, this is about Gabby.
About
Gabby.
Gabby.
This is about getting justice for her and about catching this Mr. Dirty Laundry guy.
Yep.
Whew, this is rough.
It's heartbreaking. And what's bad is when people are in these comments saying, well, how did her parents not know? How did her parents not know? Because when you're being abused by a partner, it's a secret.
Exactly.
It's a secret.
You don't tell. You don't. Because you see as not being able to get out of the situation. You see as this is what you have to deal with. This is now your world. You don't see getting past that because of all the situation that people get involved in. You just don't see it. You're living in the moment.
Just to get out of that situation, hope things calm down, things change, and then it happens all over again. And it escalates. It gets worse and worse and worse and worse.
Right. And I've been looking all over for this picture of them. I think it was like at the Arches that Chris McDonough was talking about, where he was holding her by the throat. I've been trying to find that picture, and I've looked and looked. I don't know if it's been scrubbed from the internet, but if anyone has it, could they please post it somewhere in Brooke's Discord or email it to her or whatever, because I'm very interested in looking at that up close. And that was just days before all the stuff that happened to her.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. See, and a lot of people, I see in chat, they keep throwing around narcissists, and I get that. I do. But when you're talking about domestic violence, you're not really dealing with a narcissist. You're dealing with a different type of controlling evil.
Well, the thing is, there are narcissists that never hurt anyone.
Yeah.
But this is a different edge to it. It's the violence stuff.
Like,
You know,
I
that's
don't
where,
believe Chris Watts was a narcissist. He might be now because he's loving his prison letters and stuff. I think there was things going on inside that house that no one knew about. And obviously we know now. And it's kind of the same thing with Brian. You know, they are like the all-American couple. They're engaged. They're going across country. They come from good homes. All of these things. And then this happens. Imagine the shock to her family who considered him a part of their family.
exactly.
They have to keep that facade up to continue the control. I've got the money. I've got the keys. I'm taking your ID. I'm doing this. I've got it.
And, you know, it just makes me look at the reaction of the parents of Laundry. They are like covering for him. And so I think it's a pattern. They've done this all his life for some reason. It seems like they're covering, and even to their own peril, you know?
Mm-hmm. Well, they could be in huge trouble. And on top of that, what a great son he is to do this to his parents.
Exactly. And you have no way of knowing what he told them. And it's probably a story like he has told them all his life every time he got into something. And they always believed him. But now is when they should be coming out and saying something. I mean, when the governor of the state has declared that he needs to be found, the parents need to wake up and say, hey, you know?
Well, if the governor of your state is looking for your child, it's time to quit the crap.
Exactly.
Fun and games are over. I still believe they let him get a head start. I have a hard time believing that they believe that he killed Gabby. But I don't know. I know they lawyered him up real quick, which I think we all would do for our children, correct?
Right. Especially if at first they, if at first they believe the story, you know?
Yeah.
And we don't know what he was telling them. He could have made up some thing about being attacked, and he didn't know what happened to her, and he was scared and ran, and you just don't know.
No, you don't know. And of course, you're going to be in a panic too, and you're going to believe your child. And that statement they put out when they found Gabby's body, it was like the first one the attorney put out. It was so bland and so I don't care.
And it was to distance themselves completely from her and her family. You know, she lived with them. She was going to be their daughter-in-law. She was family.
Yeah.
And that's their reaction. I wouldn't ever let an attorney put out a letter for me worded like that.
No, that was cold. That was stone cold. That was more of a, we just don't care.
Exactly. Like she was a stranger walking down the street. I tell you what, I would have had more compassion for a stranger than they did for her, and she was going to be their daughter-in-law.
Even if they broke up, I would say, well, then where is she now? Okay, I'm sorry you guys broke up. I'm sure you guys are, you'll figure it out later. Where is she now?
Exactly.
You've been to Kansas, Colorado, Utah, Wyoming. So where is she? Where is she?
Yep. They
Paul
just don't.
says the attorney is probably questioning his stupid decision in taking this on.
Exactly.
I agree.
He's probably going, oh no, this is a big mess up.
Yeah, because I mean, look at that. Talk about bad public relations. My God.
Yes. It's probably an attorney they've used all their life for business stuff, but that's not necessarily one that you would want for something like this.
No, it's someone that owes a debt to the family, and he's like, oh, I'm going to take care of this. And next thing you know, he's got everyone from the New York Post to CNN on his front door and calling his line while he can't handle it.
Exactly.
So what are your thoughts about the FBI telling them not to have a press conference today, not to make any release or anything? And that's from Brian's family.
Because they're coming out with something. They already know. They said that they would release the preliminary autopsy stuff today.
Right.
So they probably know way more than, we do. And that's why it was put off. Because there's something there. They've got proof.
Yeah, it's so odd to me, though, that they would tell them not to talk. You would think they would want them to talk. Make a statement, say something, but to say the FBI told them not to do anything.
Well, here's another thought, though. Did the FBI really tell them that? Or are they just saying that?
Well, I believe everything I read on the internet, right, my friend?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. But no, I mean, it's been in several articles that it was called off because the FBI told them. Now, I don't know that the attorney would be dumb enough to say, oh, the FBI told me not to do it. Or if he told the parents, oh, they told me not to say anything today.
Well, if it would be something that would be exculpatory for Brian, they would, be all happy to say that. So it's definitely some incriminating stuff.
Well, everything with this fool is incriminating. The 911 call, the fact that he went to a hotel, but she chose to stay in the van. That's when all my sirens were going off. All the bells were ringing in my head. They took him to a hotel and she slept in the van?
Yeah.
She was afraid of being stranded.
Right. And then people were saying, well, how did they get back together? Well, like the little puppy dog she was, didn't want to be alone. She knew where they were taking him to what hotel. So she went and got him.
Yeah, in the van. Yeah. And just imagine that conversation that day.
Yeah.
And I don't believe for a second that she told her parents about the fact that the police were involved or anything like that. I think this was all kept a secret. I think he told his parents when he showed up without her. Then they talked to the attorney because suddenly, as we watch the timeline on the news, Gabby's missing. They're looking for Gabby. And then here comes this police report but it didn't tell what the original caller said. That they witnessed him striking her. And then we see Gabby in the back of the car taking responsibility. So you have all these people saying, oh, it's boyfriend beating. Oh, she's crazy.
Yep.
Well, that's how they work. So he was working on this.
Yeah. But you know, if she had said anything to her dad, he would have been there to get her. That's the kind of dad he is.
Mm-hmm.
So she was hiding that. I really do believe that she was hiding it, trying to make sure everything just turned out perfect because she had made this commitment. And she was the type of person that when she made a commitment, she gave it her all. I mean, if you listen to her talking about her business, you know, what she was doing with her blog, and she was very, very committed. So she wasn't one of these persons that said, oh, well, never mind. You know, she was very serious about that. And then, too, they had gone to that picture of her there with the butterfly background. That was a wedding venue thing. And she had gone there dressed up in heels, which she hated. And then after that, she said to someone that they were engaged. That was her fiance. So they had, after it was canceled, they had gone back to being a couple and they were going to get married again. That's what all that deal was about, that picture.
Yep.
So she was going to.
And no young girl is going to tell her dad, this is what's really going on. You think you can handle the situation.
Exactly.
The behavior's going to stop.
Yep.
And look at how young she is and how little she is.
Yep. She was a tiny little thing and she had so much life ahead of her.
Yeah, I just think it's disgusting. And I really think domestic violence needs to be handled totally different in this country.
That's agreed.
M says, Chris M said the van was hers, so the police couldn't give it to him. Plus, he thought it empowered her somehow. I don't know. I think there was a reason she wouldn't leave that van. That's just my opinion. When they were in Moab, I just think there was a reason she wouldn't leave that van.
Well, she was afraid of being left already. Why would she want to go stay in the hotel?
And then she gets left in Salt Lake City.
Yeah.
Because it was in the Daily Mail that she was there at a hotel. Her dad sent her Uber Eats and everything. He comes back. Then they go to Wyoming, and here we are.
Yep. So whatever was happening wasn't getting any better. It was getting worse.
Nope. You are exactly right. I'm reading a few of the comments. I don't think her parents knew anything. I don't think her parents knew that things were getting worse in their relationship or what was going on. Or when they were at the graduation in New York, I don't think they would have let her go if they really thought that he was abusing her.
Yeah, I don't believe they would have let her go. Because no one from the family has spoken out about that and said that she told them anything and that they had tried something and she wouldn't listen. Nobody said that. So that tells me they don't know, because I'm telling you, that family will tell it like it is.
Right. And they even said their relationship wasn't exactly what we thought.
Right.
I don't believe for a minute that they knew any of this was going on.
No.
But I'm kind of wondering about how they were when they were at Brian's house.
Yeah, that ought to be interesting, huh?
I kind of wonder what his parents saw.
Yeah. And how maybe that was part of her conditioning, that the reason she felt she was always in the wrong because of the way she was treated there too. Maybe they subscribed to the way he was treating her. You just don't know.
I want to know where the whole mental health thing comes out, that, you know, for one, you can't diagnose yourself. And you saw everything blacked out in the police report. So he's mentioning different things.
Right.
So who gave that diagnosis? And why is there no medication? Oh, we don't have any medication, but she's a lot worse than me. So you're telling me that you've got these two great families. And these are good stock, right?
Mm-hmm.
And no one has medication for, these serious diagnoses.
Well, somebody said, well, they can't find out that. But since 9/11, Homeland Security and the FBI can get access to medical records, and they'll be able to tell if there's any kind of medication they've ever taken or should have been on, if they had been prescribed something. So, and then too, they're going to do a full toxicology on her, because we don't know. Maybe he gave her something. We just don't know.
Well, her father's saying that she doesn't have it. She doesn't have OCD. She's never been diagnosed.
Right. Well, everyone says, well, I get a little OCD about this, that, or the other. And so it sounds like she was repeating the script of what he told her she was, and
Absolutely.
how she was mean and she was too OCD and all of this stuff. She was gaslighted and brainwashed.
Yep, I totally agree. I know a lot of people are coming after me about the mental illness. Just from my vantage point, all I see is, I shouldn't say all I see, because it's extremely serious. I see domestic violence, and he had huge control issues over her. He was very worried about losing her.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't believe
nitpicking her about everything. Exactly.
Yep.
All right. Well, my friend, we've kept everyone for over 3 hours today. So we will be back tomorrow at 9 a.m. We're going to be talking about Summer Wells again, but anything that happens with Gabby, Summer, any of the cases we're covering will come right on. It'd be nice to get an update on Summer and be able to go live about it, don't you think?
That would be wonderful news.
Oh.
Yeah.
So are you going to be in tomorrow morning with us?
Sure. Just tell me what time and I will be here.
9 a.m. Central, my friend.
All righty.
And by the way, thank you everybody for being here, especially again on short notice. Mods, you always keep hang on one second, the chat under control, and that's awesome. And again, we will see you all tomorrow, or when something happens. We never know, right?
Exactly.
Like we said yesterday, it could be 5 minutes. We don't know.
Yep, it's fluid. Okay, goodbye, everybody. Y'all have a good rest of the day.
You too. Bye-bye. Bye, everyone.